I just saw you put in the chat. It's relating. It's all Jesus's fault. It's true. It's very true. No, we had some. We're running late, but it's actually the chat's fault. It's the problem is the chat. They're the ones who made this happen. Because I was scrolling back and checking through all the things that the chat said, and then we couldn't start. That's what it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to SkepTalk. This is the show where I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, and I'm joined today by my dear friend, Jerdak, who was with me yesterday and did an amazing job. And now we get you back today. We get a double dose of Jesse and Forrest, and I'm fucking excited about that. Swearing in the first minute, demonetizing us immediately. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. We are risking a overdose of vitamin J today. Between today and yesterday, we are just hitting the JJ far too often.
That, you know what? It does sound sexual, but like I'm into it. I'm cool with however it goes. We've got an amazing show for you guys out there who are watching out there in the internet world. Not only because we've got, me and somebody who's way cooler than me here, but also because we've already got some good calls lining up. However, we always have time for more people who want to call in, who are theists, who are creationists, who are bigots of any flavor, who have questions about evolution or about the age of the earth or about how to be a kind and compassionate and good person without the hindrance of religion. SkepTalk is all about bringing on people who have expertise in certain fields, who want to talk about certain things. So you've got me coming in here with the weird science and just the weirdness. And you got Jesse, who is, someone who used to he was a pastor and then was going to become like a whole senior pastor thing, and has just a boatload of amazing experience and trauma that he has dealt with and cool things to talk about. You got two sweet guys who are very kind and compassionate and caring and usually pretty nice, unless you say something aggressively stupid. So, this is your chance if you're new to these shows or if you've wanted to call in before and you haven't known whether or not it was the right time. This is the right time because this is your best chance to actually get a word in edgewise and hear what we have to say. The number on the bottom of the screen there is 720-619-2288, or you can use the link in the description to dial in via the web, call in over them internets. But before we get there, I want to read you this thing. And it is that we've got chewed gum tomorrow. Yep, this calendar is built differently than mine. We got chewed gum tomorrow. We've got the hang up coming up on Wednesday. On Thursday, we've got the Transatlantic Call-In Show. And then all the way back around to next week, we've got the Sunday show. Erika and Seth are going to be doing the Sunday show next week. How crazy cool is that? Two very cool people. And then I'm looking at the rest of the week and it's looking pretty dope. So stick around for all of that. Stay tuned because things are just going to keep getting better here. Also, I want to say that I actually was looking through some of the chat before. I didn't look a lot of it. One person said they met me at BajaCon. Hello again to you, whoever you are. I also saw a couple people talking about donating to Doctors Without Borders through this awesome little project that Jesse and I put on called Roll for Initiative. I did the math just before the show. We are currently sitting at $13,853 raised for Doctors Without Borders through our charity game. Subtract 14,000 from that tells us that we are $147 away from $14,000 raised in just 10 episodes. Episode 11 comes out this weekend or this Wednesday. So if anybody in the chat has an extra couple of bucks laying around, it would really mean a lot to me, and it would really mean a lot to Jesse, and it really mean a lot to the rest of the cast and crew of Roll for Initiative. And more importantly, it would mean a whole hell of a lot to the people of Palestine and the people of Congo and the people in Chad, where there was just a massive flood, to the people of Ukraine, to the people of Sudan, to the people of Yemen, and to other people in crisis zones all around the world. If you would donate to Doctors Without Borders, and if you do it through our link, then we get to track it, and we get to use those big numbers to then go to brands and sponsors and stuff next year and be like, hey, give us more money to do more big fundraisers so we can raise more money. We have so far raised significantly more than the sponsors gave us this season. So we've already justified the charity's existence. But it would be great if you could make it so that we really justify the charity's existence. That would be really, really cool. So with that, it would be really awesome if everybody would donate to that. I'll be keeping an eye on that kind of just off to the side here. I've got it pulled up and I've got my calculator here. So if you wouldn't mind donating, that'd be really, really cool. We want to hit $14,000 today. Would be great, but sometime soon. And be sure to tune into episode 11, which comes out on Wednesday. Honestly, I'll shut up about this and we'll get into the damn show here in a second. But for real, if you aren't into TTRPG stuff and you don't want to watch the series, that's fine. It would still be really cool. Just watch literally the very beginning of episode 11. There's the theme song, and then we do a little last time on thing where it tells you what happened. And then it's no spoiler to say there's a combat sequence in episode 11. And the very, very beginning, the first minute of the episode is just showing you what we're playing on. And I think people should see that. So just tune in to at least that and see what we're talking about. Anyway, with that, we're now going to move on to the show. And maybe as we get into things, I'll start giving if we raise this much money, I'll put on the thing. I've got some wigs and some hats and stuff over here. Not for any particular reason, just because that's where they landed. We're going to jump in right away. Unless, Jesse, do you have anything before we start?
Oh, yeah. If we get 14 grand tonight, I'll do something weird on air. I don't know.
You'll see. We'll get the 14,000, and then we'll set another bar to 14 and a half. If we're another $500, we'll do some other damn thing.
I'm a shameless man. I'll do stuff.
We've got Matthew, pronouns he, him, calling in from Ornery Hyman.
Dear Lord, that's the best kind.
Who wants to talk about denominations and hell? Matthew called in yesterday with you and I, and we asked him to call back. So here he is. Matthew, you are on the line with Jesse and Forrest. How are you doing today, my friend?
Welcome back, Matthew.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. So you called in and you said yesterday that God wants us to know him, and we talked for a while about that. And then you said that you weren't a denomination because you thought denominations were sinful. Jesse wanted to ask questions about that. I had more questions about hell. So I think we're ready to get into it, man. I want to see what happens.
Sure. I think we should probably start with the denominations. I feel like that will take a less time. And the health thing might not take that much time either, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Jesse, do you have a specific question about denominations you want to start us off with?
Sure. I mean, well, I'd like to take a look at a broader scope of what you meant by that, because I don't even necessarily. Well, all right, I don't believe in sin. You know, I don't believe in sin. I'm a godless heathen. But I do think that some denominations are more problematic than others. So in that, I think you and I are of at least one mind a little bit. But I'm just very curious where you're coming from, because Matthew, you sounded like a smart fella, or as my dad would say, a fart smella. And I would like to hear your words about where you're coming from on this.
Yeah, no, I would say that denomination is not the, so Christianity teaches that we are to be one mind and one accord. So actually it talks about the works of the flesh in Galatians. I don't know if you remember that, the works of the flesh and the works of the spirit. And one of the works of the flesh is denomination. And it says also that if you live by the flesh, you will die. And that means both physical death and spiritual death, right? We all are going to experience physical death, but the death it's talking about there is more of a spiritual death. So God does not like denominations. The apostles make it clear that we should not have denominations. yet we have, 44,000 different denominations?
Who knows? I know of 3,000 just
Yeah.
for Christianity alone, but there may be more
Right.
with religious sects.
Right. So I don't know what more to say about that, but it's just not Christianity. And anyone that decides to be a part of the denomination, although they may be a Christian as in a young Christian or a baby Christian, still trying to figure things out, I would say get out of denomination very fast. And this is where you see a lot of these deconstructing people. They deconstruct, and I encourage deconstruction, especially from denomination, especially from a lot of these American churches you see out there. I definitely have no problem with someone deconstructing their church experience. I wasn't raised in the church, so maybe I'm a little bit more, and I have like some gripes against these denominations, as you know, and so maybe I'm a little bit more like excited to see when people deconstruct from those, but do know that they're deconstructing from the denomination that they're in, and not necessarily Christianity. Because someone can say, "Oh, I left Christianity," and it's like, "What denomination did you leave?" "Oh, I left the Presbyterian Church or the Baptist Church or this and that." I'm like, well, that wasn't Christianity from to begin with, because Christianity says no denomination.
Can I ask if you, Forrest, do you mind if I keep going for just a sec, bro?
Please.
Thanks,
Go as long as you want.
So we said no denominations, and you know, I feel like that's an idealized version of the ability to coordinate the faith amongst the population of Christianity as a whole. Is there one particular denomination or belief structure that you find to be the least offensive to your interpretation of the scriptures?
Not necessarily, but I do kind of tuck myself into a Nazarene church because I know I won't get kicked out because they believe in holiness. So what Christianity teaches is that you can live a life free from sin. You can be pure and not sin. Many denominations believe that we're always going to sin. Nobody's perfect. Kind of what you said yesterday about squeezing by into heaven. So the Church of the Nazarene kind of believes in purity culture. They kind of muck it up with their own stuff. So I kind of just like tuck myself in there and preach the gospel with whoever would hear me without getting kicked out. I think my number's probably going to be up eventually. They'll probably kick me out and say I'm preaching false doctrine, but I'll enjoy the ride as long as I can, I guess.
Well, I don't think you're preaching any doctrine that's any more false than the next one. Forrest, did you have questions, Bubba?
Yeah, I just kind of like, I want to understand like the concept here, because like you're right in that I don't remember exactly where, but I know Jesus was pretty adamant about the concept that like I have established one church and we are one group, and you know the Christianity encompasses all Christians, and he kind of, I don't think he was ever explicitly anti-denomination, but I do think that he was pretty explicitly like pro-unity in that respect anyway. But what I don't understand is that like people travel and spread out, and that's kind of like the point of a lot of Christianity is to evangelize and to spread out and to like build different churches all over the place. And I think it's completely unreasonable to expect everybody in different places around the world to get the same thing out of the same book. And so while I can appreciate like the theoretical concept of having one unified doctrine for the entire church, I get where that would be beneficial for a cult leader to want to have that. At the end of the day, you still have people with different minds living in different places with different life experiences, with different cultural backgrounds, interpreting the same book in lots of different ways. That's why we have so many damn versions of the Bible. And it sounds like what you're saying is that you have the right one, and that all these other denominations, all these other people who have read the book and gotten different messages out of it, and all the people who are okay with the concept of denominations because of their interpretation of the book, are all doing Christianity wrong, but Matthew is not. And I wonder where you draw that from.
So yeah, no, there's a lot of misconceptions about the Bible translations. There is a spectrum, and I don't know if Jesse knows this, but there's a spectrum of Bible translations, right? There have the word for word, thought for thought, and paraphrase.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's important to do word for word. Obviously, thought for thought can muck up things. Someone else's thoughts can get into there. Good word for word Bibles are the NASB and the King James Version. I know a lot of people like cringe at the King James Version, so NASB is no problem with that. And if I was to go around with a Pardon?
Well, I want to say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to interject a couple of things. Number one is that like these are different, ideas on how to translate and how to make new things. but that's a like active debate amongst like theologians and whatnot. So like if you're taking a side, that's totally fine. But like you have to recognize the fact that like there's a reason those other ones exist, and it's not just convenience. And also that like even something like the King James, which you're saying is super word for word and all these things, that still has the issue of people implementing different things that weren't there originally, like the putting in homosexuality as being a sin later on in life. You know what I mean? Like things like that. That kind of sucks. And you can translate it word for word, but once it's been corrupted, the words you're translating, it doesn't matter if they're word for word or thought for thought or whatever it is, because someone's already put something in there that wasn't there in the beginning just because of their political agenda.
So that'd be a hard sell to kind of say that was put in there, but that's not really the part of the discussion. But what I would
you can look
say
up
is that
Dan McClellan. He's a PhD in theology who studies specifically the Bible and has videos on YouTube about why homosexuality was not originally condemned in the Bible and why that was a recent addition. At least I'm pretty sure he's the one who talked about that. I know there's others that do.
Yeah. And so but what I was going to say was that if I were to take an NASB Bible, so forget the King James, right? I was to get an NASB Bible around the different denominations, especially the ones that claim that their denomination teaches a certain thing. We can read it together, and if we read it together, and if you guys were to come along with me and we were to read it together, you would say, no, it says this. Why are you guys doing this? A good example of that is Pentecostals believe that you have to speak in tongues in order to be saved. But in the scripture, Paul even asks the question rhetorically, do all speak in tongues? And the answer is meant to be no, because the context is like, we're all different, we all have different gifts, and we're meant to do different things. Yet the Pentecostals still, regardless of what the Bible says, King James, NASB, or otherwise, they still want to do their whole tongues and flopping like bacon on a skillet thing.
So I'm very quickly, I'm just going to say, I've got Dan's video here. It's a 5-minute video where he's responding to a guy on TikTok talking about homosexuality in Bible, and he starts the video by saying, I just want to point out, if your Bible contains the word homosexuality at all, it is 100% mistranslated. And so I'm putting the link to that video here, so you can learn a little bit about that.
Yeah, you can, and we can say the word is mistranslated or whatever it is. However, Romans 1 talks about the behavior without even using the word homosexuality. So in context, the behavior still is condemned regardless of the word homosexuality.
No, the reason he's saying that is not because the word, is because of like the historical context of like actually defining homosexuality as a thing. From his perspective, from his cultural anthropological perspective, just doesn't hold up to the usage of that word.
I'll have to take your word for it because I don't have the video before me.
Yeah.
So
that's fine. I've got it in the chat. I recommend you watch that. And again, that's just one video from one dude. Dan's a super nice guy that Jimmy won't have on the show. But like I'm poking fun. I understand his reasons. But like there's that's a thing. And so like what I'm hearing, from the little bit that I heard of what you were just saying, is like different people are interpreting this in different ways, and they're practicing the religion in different ways because of the different interpretations. And then at the end of the day, that's going to cause the religion to be fragmented, and people are doing things that are very unchristian because they believe that they're doing Christianity, but in a way that you don't approve of. Is that a long and short of what you're saying?
Not necessarily that I don't approve of. The scriptures don't bear it out. Just like I said, the whole Pentecostal thing, right? It's just like it literally says.
I guarantee. I guarantee the Pentecostals have read the Bible.
Yeah, they claim to have read the Bible, and I could take 2 atheists with me, Muslims, Hindus, or whatever, and sit down with them, and I will say, look what it says, look what's going on there, and they'll cognitive dissonance or whatever will kick in, and they'll be like, yeah, it doesn't say that, or no, I don't believe that. Yeah, but I believe this, or yeah, they'll come up with something else. But regardless of whatever they come up with, we are to be one mind, one accord. So
and that one mind and one accord just so happens to need to be yours, is what I'm saying.
I don't think it's a just so happen thing. Obviously, there's going to be one person, and if a line or a atheist talk show is out there in the ether, there's probably going to be somebody likely that's going to call in that has this stuff. You know what I mean? It's not as coincidental or like improbable as it may sound, I guess.
It is, though. And what I'm trying to draw your attention to, I'm not saying that you absolutely have the wrong interpretation. I'm saying that it's kind of wild that you're saying that all these other denominations, which again, I guarantee there are evangelicals out there, there are Pentecostals out there, there are Baptists out there, there are, whatever else you want to pick, that have read the Bible cover to cover several times, that have their interpretation of it that is, in my opinion, as valid as yours, because it's just a book that has no references that are worth a damn, that has no backup, that you can't go check with the guys who wrote it, you can't go check with God. You just have this book that is being translated and mistranslated and having things added to it and taken from it because of political or social reasons. That is there's countless different versions of it throughout the centuries, and you're sitting here saying, yeah, but I know what it says better than all these people, including
and
the
also
people
too,
who are.
I have other people that would agree as well. It's not just me by myself.
Sure, I'm glad. Yeah, and
maybe
so
I'm the only one
I don't
calling.
think there's one Pentecostal out there. I think that there's millions,
Right.
and so including all of the scholars of this religion who go back and actually check the historical significance and what the original texts say, and all these, better than all those people, you understand this book and understand how this religion is to be practiced. And I just I'm not saying you're absolutely wrong. I don't think any of them are right. So I am saying you're absolutely wrong, but I'm not saying any of them are any more right than you. I'm just saying it's kind of a big claim to make that you're the most Christian that there could possibly be.
Right. The one thing I do want to stress, whether I'm right or wrong, or they're right or I'm wrong, or whatever it is that the Bible clearly says that denomination is not good. So even if I'm wrong, we're all wrong, and we're not doing the right thing. And that's kind of my point when it comes to denomination being bad.
Matthew,
let me try something just a little bit different. Oh, sorry. You go ahead, Jesse. I have a different.
Sure.
Oh, no, I have a totally different. It would be a completely different line of questioning.
Okay, well, mine might be too. So if it's incompatible with yours, then mute.
Who cares? We got a whole show.
I believe in you. Do you think this matters to God?
100%.
Okay. Why doesn't he fix it?
I think he does fix it. I think he sets it out. But remember, like I said before, God wants people to be humble. God wants people to not focus on their own self and their own desires. He wants us to think of others, all these things, repent, have a humble heart. A humble heart would receive this conversation, would have these conversations. I'm talking about two Christians. Let's say we had two Christians conversing. Let's say I was going to a Pentecostal church and I said, hey, you guys got it wrong. Maybe I'll try to be more tactful or whatever. Let's say I do it in a very tactful way, like I'm in the Nazarene church, I'm kind of tucked in there. I tuck myself in the Pentecostal church and I start doing this. A humble person would say, wow, okay, that's true, and they would convert. But the thing is, that's what God wants. He wants people to humble themselves to convert. People who deny God and say, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing, they make an excuse for their own self, So, or they make it so that they have no excuse. So they can't say, oh, well, God, I didn't know, and all this stuff. No, God gave him an opportunity to humble himself. And I believe that's how God fixes it, through the humility of other people.
That's not how he fixes stuff in the Bible.
What do you mean?
He fixes stuff in the Bible by drowning people and setting shit on fire.
Oh, okay. So you're saying why isn't God just destroy the whole thing all over again? I mean, that'd probably be a question you would have to ask God. Maybe I can ask him for you, and we'll see if I get an answer.
I gotta tell you, Matthew, I appreciate your time, but I'm not going to hold my breath for that, because as somebody who earnestly sought God for about 3 decades or so, I never heard his voice once, and I actually don't know anybody that did. I know a few people that claimed to, but when I held their feet to the fire, they kind of said it was more of just a feeling, and feelings are easy to manipulate. So it's this tricky thing.
Thankfully, he has already spoken. That's kind of how I see it. He's already spoken through his word. It says in the Bible, I'm not sure if you remember this, but it says God in past times has spoke to prophets, but now in these last days speak to us through his Son. That's Hebrews 1. So if you want to get scientific, I guess, this God is a fourth dimensional, in the fourth dimension, has already spoken in time past. So we have that communication with him, and I think that's the best way to do it.
Well, I mean, that's what the Bible says, but that's not proof that God spoke. Yeah. That's just the Bible saying that
I hear what you're saying. I understand you'd be skeptical to that. I'm just saying that's how we would look at that. Say God has already spoken, so that's good, because if someone comes out of nowhere and says, well, I heard the voice of God, tell me this, blah, 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 how are we going to confirm that? You know what I mean? Where are you getting that confirmation? But if God has already spoken, we don't have to worry about that.
I have a different question entirely regarding the Bible and what it says and things like this. I was just curious, and maybe this will be completely nonsensical. Matthew, do you believe that it is good to like the street preachers and things, like people who go out and evangelize and like try to like talk to people on the streets and like pray with them and all these things? Do you think that that is a good thing to do? Because Jesus was talking about like going out and spreading the message. Do you think that that's appropriate?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate, but I hope that they're preaching the right doctrine. And a lot of times people will just talk about Jesus and they'll get them into the door, like, Jesus died for your sins and all this stuff. And I think that's good.
What about like
it's important to, yes.
What about like the extreme example of that, where like you have people like, there was a guy, I used to live in a different side of Tulsa, and there was this dude who literally all day, every day, I don't know how this guy made any money. He had a sign that said, Jesus is coming back, you need to repent. It had some Bible verses on it. And he would stand at one intersection and he would literally just walk every red light to the next corner and just walk. And then he would do that all day and like wave this sign around and you would just shout at people like, hey, Jesus, Jesus. That might be a bit annoying, but do you think that's appropriate? Do you think that's acceptable in your version of Christianity?
I mean, if he's preaching Christ, he's preaching Christ. I can't stop him from doing that. So, I wouldn't want to. Yeah.
Right. So here's the issue, is that you're sitting here telling me that you have the correct interpretation of the Bible because you don't believe in denominations and so on and so forth. I'm telling you that I've also read your book, and I also have the correct interpretation of the Bible because I've read the words of Jesus here in the book of Matthew, chapter 6. He says, when you take alms in secret, blah, 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 blah. He says, when thou prayest, this is verse 5, when thou prayest, you are not to be as the hypocrites who love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corners of the streets, they so that they can be seen. They already have their reward. When you pray, go to your closet, shut your closet door, and pray in secret. Do not use vain repetitions as the heathens do. You shall speak. They already have their reward for speaking. Be not like them. Say, your only prayer shall be, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, blah, 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 blah. He says you should pray in secret, in a closet, in a closed room of your house, away from everybody else. Only say the Lord's Prayer and nothing else. Don't ask for what you want. Don't pray in repetitions. He says if you give to charity, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Do everything in secret. Give in charity in secret. Help the poor in secret. Pray in secret, practice Christianity in secret, be as quiet and secretive as possible, because otherwise you've already received all the reward you're ever going to get from the attention that you get from other people. That is my version of Christianity that I got from the words of Jesus himself. Why am I wrong and why are you right?
I mean, we can go, we can unpack from the beginning, I guess, where he says, do not do it to be seen by men, right? But I'm assuming you're the guy that you're talking about. Unless he was, then he's wrong. Wasn't doing it to be seen by men or some type of reward. He wanted to let people hear the message of God. Now, I don't know if he's praying out loud and in public or whatever. Along with the Lord's Prayer,
when you pray, pardon? This is Matthew 6:6. But thou, when thou prayest, enter thy closet, and when thou hast shut the door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father will, which seen only in secret shall reward you. That's what he says.
Okay.
So he says don't have denominations, and he also says don't pray in public, don't preach in public, don't make any public displays.
Well, it doesn't say don't preach in public. Where does it say don't preach in public?
When thou pray, do not go as the hypocrites are, who love to pray, standing on the street, in the street corners and the synagogues, so that they may be seen by man.
Yeah, so if he's going to do that to be seen by men, then he's not doing it right. And I don't think it says don't preach. You said don't preach in public. But I wanted to tackle also with the Lord's Prayer. He says pray in this manner. He doesn't say just pray the Lord's Prayer. And you said he says don't ask for anything. He says in the Lord's Prayer, it says give us this day. You may have blah, blah, blah through that. But it says, give us this day our daily bread. That is asking for something. He says.
That's all he says.
That is a manner and a style of prayer, not the prayer. You don't just say the Our Father like Catholics or whatever. That is the manner of prayer.
Right. He specifically says, like, let's say I'm trying to find the next part here where he talks about like don't ask for anything that you want. The Lord already has a plan. and this shall be your only prayer. Be not ye therefore like them, for your Father knows the things that you have need of before you ask of them. That's what it is. Do not use vain repetitions like the heathen do. They think they shall be heard by much speaking. Do not be like them. Your Father already knows what you need before you ask of it. After this manner, therefore, pray. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, blah, 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 blah. Lead us not into temptations, there is ours your glory forever and ever, blah, blah, blah. For if you forgive men, your heavenly Father will forgive you. And then he goes on to a bunch of other stuff. So he's saying God already knows what you want. You don't need to ask for it. This is the way you pray. You say these words in secret in a closed room in your house. That's what Matthew 6 says.
So yeah, like I said, he says pray in this manner, right? And like I said, we can go back and forth all live long day. I'm sure you're as a skeptic, you're not going to want to accept what I'm saying. And even if you were a skeptic of a religious skeptic, right, you would say, oh no, but it clearly says in this manner, right? It doesn't say and use these exact words only. And when it says, give us this day our daily bread, that is asking for a request, right? It's saying, hey, Lord, bless us today. You're not doing like the heathens and repeatedly asking and asking and asking for the same thing over and over and over and over again. So
just asking for nourishment. It's just sound like that's the thing, man. Is it like to me anyway?
Yeah.
To me, it was pretty clear that they want it to be a secretive thing, and he's telling you how to pray. And you can say, oh well, he wants you to pray for more things. Okay, it's still pretty unambiguous about doing it in private. The point is, like,
yes,
even if you disagree with me, even if you disagree with me,
everyone to see it.
Even if you disagree with me on any part of that, I'm telling you the words that I'm reading from the book and what I'm getting from them. So now I can sit here with all the same authority as you and say what I'm reading from here is a direct translation. It's word for word. It's the same kind of translation that you like. And I am going to believe every part of this because that's what I've read. And you're doing Christianity wrong, Matthew. And it means the same thing that you're saying because we don't have any backup. We don't have any actual source, i.e. God, to come down and recommunicate what he's actually talking about, which is what Jesse was mentioning earlier. If hell is on the line here, wouldn't it be interesting or wouldn't it be important for God to be like, yo, this is the way to do it unambiguously and not have a book that's so incredibly open to interpretation that you get tens of thousands of denominations of the same book?
So let's say that was the case, right? Let's say that I was wrong, you were right, all that. Nevertheless, as I was saying before, kind of to my point about denominations, God says that he does not like denominations. God shows, rather, that he does not like denominations through Paul. He shows that we are to be one mind and one accord. And even Jesus prays that we are one mind. So that's where that would be. So if I'm not one mind with believers, that there's already a problem there, right? And that's kind
None
of
of that addresses my point. None of that addresses what I was just asking
about. The point I was making about denominations, but what were you asking me?
I was saying, I was parroting what Jesse asked earlier because I was trying to draw this point that you and I have a different interpretation of what Jesus himself said about how to practice this religion. Denominations aside, we're both reading the same book. We're both getting the same different answers. So what Jesse asked you earlier, and what I don't,
and you subtracted some things there.
No, I read the word for word. I read it out loud to you. I read it out loud directly from the book to you.
Some of the stuff. What is that?
Yeah, because I'm not going to read every single word because you know what I'm already saying. You already know the Lord's Prayer. I'm not going to say the whole Lord's Prayer here on. There's no point. But the point is, what I'm trying to get at is that you and I, even in this moment, even if I agree there should be no denominations, have a different interpretation of the same reading of the same book. So wouldn't it behoove the creator of the universe to be like, yo, folks, this is exactly what I mean, and I'm not just going to say it one time in the freaking Iron Age Palestine and then hope everybody gets it right after that. Not to mention the fact that was Matthew, which was written around 85 AD. And then you got Mark was written around 66 AD. John was written around 100 AD, all in a time when the average human lifespan was maybe 40 or 50 if you're super lucky. These are not eyewitness accounts. These are folk tales that have been passed down. I don't think we even know for sure who wrote all the Gospels. I think the only guy that we're sure of existing was John. The point is, that would be a question for Matt Dillahunty. He would know way better than I. But the point is, This is a telephone game for thousands of years that people have fucked up over and over. And you're sitting here saying, yeah, but I got the right one. And I'm wondering, if this God is so great and so smart, why doesn't he actually help out and say, yeah, Matthew from Ohio is the one who's got it right. All the other billions of Christians around the world, listen to Matthew from Ohio because he's got it figured out. Why wouldn't he clarify that instead of letting thousands and thousands and millions of people burn in hell for eternity because they were raised in the wrong tradition of the same damn book?
Yeah, those people that are literally confused. Jesus says, "If you're blind, you have no sin against you." I don't believe those people will have to worry about hell if they really are completely ignorant to everything. That being
then
said,
why would you spread the message you're spreading?
Pardon?
Why would you spread the message you're
Pardon?
spreading then? If their ignorance is safeguarding them against damnation, then you are risking their souls by telling them that they're doing it wrong. You're going to put them at risk of ignoring you, and then they're no longer ignorant, and then they're going to go to hell. You are doing more harm than good by preaching your version of Christianity. You should do what Jesus said and keep it to yourself.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if they're without excuse, ignorance is not an excuse, right? They're purposely being ignorant, and that's their problem.
But you just said that they won't be punished for their ignorance.
If it's true ignorance, if they're not purposely being ignorant, if they really just don't know,
which means if you present them with the truth and they ignore it, they can no longer be truly ignorant. The more you spread Christianity, especially your version of it, the more likely people are going to hear it and then ignore it, and then they go to hell. If you spread it less and don't let anybody know what you believe, then they will remain truly ignorant and they will be guaranteed heaven. If you care about human souls, you should shut up.
Well, that would be unfortunate for them. I mean, I care about human souls, but I guess I don't feel that same conviction that you're talking about.
No, because you're more interested in spreading your message than actually safeguarding their souls. It's a pride issue.
Well, if it's not true, then I guess there's no problem there.
I mean, that's what has been striking me throughout all of this, Matthew, is I think we came up in different denominations, but my church, flawed as it may have been, put love and acceptance at the forefront of its doctrine, even if they didn't practice it overly well, because they were still bigots and they were still racists. But at least they were doing their best to cast a fairly broad net to make people feel welcome to come to the church. I heard you just say, "Oh, that's too bad for them." That's mean.
Yeah, I guess. Probably. I'm not here to necessarily be nice or not nice or whatever it is. That is the directive I have, and that is what I go with, and that is what I do. Right? I'm called to preach the gospel, so I go and preach it, and that's what I do.
Okay.
It's like if you were to talk about the best analogy I can give is like a mad scientist doctor that's going around and infecting people with a disease, and if they survive, they have immunity then to further diseases, but a lot of them don't. You could just not infect them. You could just save their lives by going away. But he's like, but I want to do it this way. That's what I'm hearing from you. It's like you are so convinced that you're correct that you're willing to put people's souls more at risk in order to spread your doctrine, the one that you think is right. That's what gets me.
Well,
dude.
yeah,
It's
me,
like
I'm just doing what I'm told. I'm not like.
Who told you to do
I know
this?
that may not. I know that may be grotesque to some people, but I don't lose sleep over it.
Who told you to do this?
Yeah.
Who told you to do this? When?
The Lord.
How?
Through scripture and confirmation. So, for example, if you know the scripture in Isaiah where he saw the Lord for who the Lord was, I have also seen the Lord for who the Lord was and seen myself for who I was. And
all the other denominations where there are people who say that they've seen the Lord for who the Lord is, what are they doing wrong? Because I have personally met people who have a very different belief than you, who have told me that they were baptized in the fire of the Holy Spirit and they spoke to God directly, and they now know what directive they need to do with their life, and it is very different than what you were saying. So what are they doing wrong, and who are they hearing when they hear the words of God? and they do different things.
Well, I have no idea who they're hearing, but what they're doing wrong is not reading the scripture properly and applying it.
Right, because Matthew is the one who does it right. Matthew from Ohio is the one who
I
knows
guess.
what
I
the
mean,
creator of the universe wants to do. And it's more important to you that some people go to hell than that other people do your religion wrong.
that other people do my... No, I want people to do the right thing. I want people to follow Christ.
Right, no, it is more important to you to allow some people to go to hell than to allow all people to practice your religion incorrectly.
Yeah. I wouldn't want people following God incorrectly. That is correct.
Even if that means that a lot of them are going to burn for all eternity, that's fine with you. You don't care about that. What's more important to you is that they do what you tell them to do.
Not what I told them to, what God told them to do.
Through you.
Okay, I'm going to jump in. So,
no, not through me. Through the scripture.
Sure. Through the scripture. Well, and great. The scripture is exactly what I wanted to get at, because you're a biblical literalist, at least as far as your own interpretations. So this is not going to surprise you where this is coming from, but it does seem it's part of a greater picture. So if let's say I have a slave and I beat them with a rod and they die immediately, that's not good. But if they happen to live for a couple of days, that's okay, right?
No, well, that's Old Testament behavior, right? New Testament says, sir, what does it say? It says, if you have a slave, treat them as a brother, right? And so if you're treating your slave as a brother, you're not going to beat your brother.
Question:
I'll beat my brother's ass any day.
Do you believe in the 10 Commandments? Do you believe those are good?
The commandments that were given in Exodus 20, I believe they're good. Yes.
Yeah, those are also Old Testament behavior. So, should we throw those out too?
Right, but that is what Jesse was talking about, the law of Moses. That is the law of Moses. We don't follow the law of Moses as Christians.
And when Jesus came in the New Testament, he said that he comes not to change the law, but to fulfill it, and not a jot or tittle of the law shall be changed until all things come to pass. And he also, as you just pointed out, didn't say don't keep slaves. And he also said, as you just pointed out, he didn't say don't keep slaves. He said keep your slaves and do nice things to them. Be kind to your slaves. Why not just say,
well, Jesus didn't say that, but Paul said that.
Right. So why didn't the Bible just say, why didn't the Bible say don't have slaves?
Because it's not an anti-slave book.
Right. That's the issue. So you're promoting a book that is pro-slavery, and you're promoting a book that is, out here teaching people not only that they can have slaves, but how to have slaves and how much to pay for your slaves and where to get your slaves and how hard you can beat your slaves and how, like, funny little legal loopholes for different slaves from different and ethnicities. That's what you're promoting.
Again, you're talking about the law of Moses.
Nope, I'm talking about the whole damn book, where nobody, including Jesus himself, ever says don't do slavery. They say just do slavery better, which, again, there is no better slavery. There's no good slavery. So there's no such thing as good slavery. Do you agree with that?
So if somebody, if you're in a world where people have slaves, and somebody has a slave,
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna ask you again.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Do you agree that there is no such thing as good slavery?
There's no such thing as good slavery. I would say if somebody is treating their slave as a brother.
I'm going to ask you one more time.
Like I said, remember I said that
I'll ask you more directly. I'll ask it that way. Is there ever any situation ever in the history of ever where slavery is a good thing or is an acceptable thing?
Yes.
Okay. So we're done there. That's it. Yeah. That's fucking gross, dude. So we're going to go ahead and end the call. I hope that you listen back to that part, just that part, and really reflect on what you're thinking. No, I don't want to talk to you at all, because you're now just saying that slavery is justifiable, and that's fucking disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself. So I hope you go learn what slavery actually is and how it works, and not just read a Bronze Age sex manual and decide that it's good because it said it's good. Have a good day, Matthew. I hope that you get better.
Keep preaching, because my God, you make Christianity look terrible.
Yes. It blows my mind that he's like, yes, people will go to hell if they reject what I'm saying. So I'm going to say it to more people. They'll be spared from hell if they never hear what I have to say. But if they hear what I have to say and ignore it, then they go to hell. So I'm going to say it to as many people as possible. Also, slavery's good. Like, fuck, dude. Oh, man. It's a bad day when you can wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and think you're a good person and also justify any kind of slavery. Because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are watching this. They're like, yeah, but there's the slavery of this time and the slavery of that time. And this kind of slavery is different than that kind of slavery. And it's better to be a slave than to be killed, isn't it? And it's better to be a slave. No good slave. It is the official position of this show that slavery is bad.
Bold stance, the line. That's kind of why I wanted to talk to Matthew again, because when I heard about like how certain denominations were sinful, I was like, oh, this guy's got some baggage. It's going to be tasty when we finally come to a head on that.
Yeah, I really appreciated your line of questioning, because like I love like showing just how your thinking works and how flawed his thinking was. It's just, man, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate time. We've got a bunch of other callers on the line. We still have one line open for theists who want to call in. But before we move on, I'd like to remind everybody that we have a bunch of other great shows on this channel. You can tune in to the Chewed Gum, to the Hang Up, to the Transatlantic Call-In Show, and to the Sunday Show, which is coming up on Sunday. All of them are really cool, and all of them are a lot of fun, and all the people hosting them are really neat. And so you should check those out if you like more content like this. And if you like more content that isn't like this, I strongly recommend that you head over and look up this cool thing called Roll for Initiative, which is an awesome TTRPG project that Jesse Jerdak and I did. We're raising money for Doctors Without Borders, and we've raised over $13,000 so far, including this one right here. Let me just go ahead and add this in there. That's just on the YouTube alone, that's $7,777 right now. Straight sevens, y'all. Plus, we got $188 from merch sales. Plus, on the Tiltify, which is where people can go to donate if they can't donate through YouTube, which isn't allowed in some countries and some regions, we have $6,013 raised there, which brings us up to $13,978 so far raised for Doctors Without Borders. $13,978 raised to save lives in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Sudan, in Yemen, in Congo, in Chad, and in other crisis zones and other places all around the world. If you give a fuck about the planet that you live on and the people who live there, please donate to Doctors Without Borders and use our link to do it so that we can continue to get sponsors to make us do more charity things, because I would like to do more charity things. That's what I want to do with my platform. The bigger it grows, the more money I want to be giving away. So we've got another caller on the line, and it's going to be... Oh, there's a lot of them. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, Jesse. We've got one that's like biology focused. We're going to do all of these, but just which one's next?
Let's do them.
We got one that's biology focused, and we've got one that's talking about witchcraft. Which one do you want to do?
I'd probably be more useful on the witchcraft one. You'd probably be more useful on the biology one. I got to tell you, as a Forrest Valkai super fan, and probably the only one, because I think I'm the only one with superpowers.
True.
I want to hear Forrest go off about biologies.
Okay. We'll do this one first then. We'll do the biology one because I think it'll be quick unless this person says something really cool. We'll see what they say. We've got Sam, pronouns they, them, calling in from irritated anglerfish.
Oh.
What? Who wants to know, how did multicellular life come from unicellular life? For context, I'm a theist and former young earth creationist. Sam, you were on the line with Jesse and Forrest. How are you doing today?
I am doing all right. I specifically wanted to call while you were on, Forrest. One, because I know you're just the biology person. You can geek out about that. But also, like I said, former young earth creationist, your stuff's been helpful for me because I have literally never been in like a public school that taught any of this. So online resources and how I'm learning about it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about it. And like like I said, this could be very quick. I can just answer your question directly, or if you have something more to say about, it says you're a theist here, and I'd be happy to dig into that with you if you want. So it's really up to you, my dude. But is there anything specific that you wanted to ask, or is it just what it says on the screen? How did multicellular life come from unicellular life?
I guess particularly because I've heard ideas of unicellular life kind of having some sort of colony features, like they can gather together in certain circumstances for stuff, but more how that gets to some form of life that has a specific set of cells and they reproduce, and those specially designed cells keep going through like that. Like, how does it go from just cells working together to now it is a concrete life form?
Yeah. So just very quickly is we've actually seen this leap happen a few times now in laboratory settings. This is one of the big like macroevolutionary like jumps. Calm down, Jesse. We've seen these this happen in labs where we have unicellular organisms, usually like an algae or something like that, and it's almost always in response to predation. When they are being predated upon, they find strength in numbers and they glob together and they become a colonial organism. And then after a little while of doing that, where they're all kind of unified together, but it's the same kind of cell just in a wad. Then after a little while, we get differentiation. And that's what we see in colonial organisms, like, for example, kelp or seaweed. Seaweed is a protist. It's not actually a plant, but it's a multicellular protist colony. And then those cells begin to differentiate, and some of them act like leaves, and some of them act like roots, and some of them act like stems, even though they're not really those. And eventually, if these things are growing together, because they start off as one microscopic spore, but if these things start to also reproduce together, then you can actually get like significant multicellular reproduction where you have real differentiation, where you actually start producing things like gametes. And so that would be the next kind of step in there. Does that answer your question? Because that's kind of a very simplified version of it.
Yeah, at the end there, you mentioned gametes. That's another thing that I've kind of connected to this is adding in like sexual reproduction. And I understand why it's advantageous, because, you know, you get the mixing of genes, you get the variation, but it's more the how that starts to happen on a small scale to eventually producing things like gametes.
So you don't actually need a gamete to do it all the time. Even bacteria do this cool thing called conjugation, which is exactly what it sounds like. A bacteria, these two guys get up next to each other, and they build this little like tube, sort of like it's in a plant, it's called a plasmodesmata, but I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called the same thing in a bacteria, but I can't remember. And they can share cytoplasm and between these two cells. And one of the cool things about bacteria is that not all of their genome has to be unified. They can have like their main lump of DNA, and then they can just have a little scramble over here called a plasmid, just an extra little chunk of DNA that they can just do stuff with. They can read it like any other genome because they don't have they have like a nucleoid region and stuff. And so they can just share plasmids. They can share DNA chunks across cell lines that way. And that's pretty much bacteria fucking. That's about as close as you can get to that. They have a tube that connects the two of them, and they share fluids and genes through the tube. And what is sex but that? And so, you don't. Yeah, and so you don't even need like a gamete to do things like this. It just so happens that if you have a highly differentiated multicellular organism, that then you can start producing things like gametes. And gametes sound a lot crazier than they are. Really, all you're doing is that. You're just getting some genes from one cell into another cell via a funky word of phagocytosis. A funky kind of way of doing it. And so, yeah, and then it just gets more specialized from there. So it's kind of like, if you look at it as it is now, it's kind of like with eyes or hearts or other organs or whatever. If you look at it the way it is right now today, it's crazy. You can't say like, oh, this just popped up out of random. But if you look at it at the most fundamental basic unit, like with the absolute simplest form it could be, it's actually not that wild to wrap your head around. Like a heart, all you need is like a contractile muscle up against a tube, and you've got it. And then you can get more specialized after that. And indeed, that's what you see with like really simple organisms. If you talk about an eye, all you need is a patch of cells that are, or even a cell, or even a part of a cell that's sensitive to light, because light's there all the time anyway. And all you need to do is learn how to use it. by being able to detect a little bit of the energy that comes off of it. And that's indeed what we see with the most simple eyes out there. It's so like that's when it comes to sexual reproduction as well, all you need is genes shared from one cell to another that makes a new kind of cell. And that's indeed what we see in the simplest forms.
That is a lot of interesting information. I knew beforehand it probably would be kind of that, well, if you're going to simplify it, because I know I grew up with a lot of the arguments of, how do you have half an eye kind of thing, but I've at least long
how do you
since
have
realized
half a
that's
sperm?
ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's not how shit works. And like, yeah, you've got it really is like, it's just building. Like evolution isn't as an inventor so much as it is a tinkerer. It takes what's already there and it makes it progressively weirder until you get up to a form that is completely unrecognizable from the original thing. Yeah, that's all it is. Does that answer your question? And also, do you want to talk about God?
I mean, that does answer my question. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure I have the philosophy to really get into that conversation. I'm not super prepared to defend that position, to be honest.
No one does.
It's okay. It sounds like you're already on your deconstruction journey. If you're asking questions like this and you say you used to be a young Earth creationist and you're watching videos from assholes like me, like it sounds like you're already in the process of breaking this down. Is that fair to say, or am I taking too much liberties with your story here?
No, that's pretty much right. Like I'm already at the point where I wouldn't consider myself like Christian or anything like that. I'm open to the idea that eventually I'll call in sometime and it's going to say atheist under there. I'm just not sure I'm at that step yet.
That's okay. We're going to be here for you until you are there and every step along the way. And if you have any more biology questions or just other random stuff, feel free to call back and we'll be happy to talk to you anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess real quick, is there anything you could recommend for me to read? Because like I said, a lot of this is stuff that I'm kind of finding out on my own.
Yeah, I love old textbooks, dude. Like I love, if you go on the Amazon and look up Campbell Biology. Campbell is the brand, and it's like Campbell Biology is the textbook. You memorize half of it, you have a bachelor's degree. That's basically what it is. And so I've got like my hard copy over here is an older edition. So this is my 9th edition here. And I use this even today to write stuff with, and it looks pretty damn intimidating, but it's really not. And like, this is for like a bio major that's like going into like a 4-year degree. There are simpler versions of these. God damn it. Hold on a second. I have to go by and grab another one because I keep my textbooks all over the damn room, depending on what I'm doing with them. And so this one here I've got, this is Campbell Biology. This is the real one. This is Campbell's Essential Biology. Look at the size difference between these guys. This is the same brand. This is the Essentials one, which is for bio for non-majors at like a 1,000 level course. So this is somebody's getting an associate's degree. They're going into nursing, or maybe not nursing. They're going into whatever the fuck they're going into, and they just took an intro to bio for non-majors course. That's what this book's all about. And so like, I use both of these when writing my YouTube videos because I can see how they worded it in a serious way and then how they explained it to people who don't care. And I can make my video better. And so, yeah, I just recommend this. This one is Campbell Essential Biology 6th edition. It's got a thorn bug on it, and you can buy that on Amazon for probably like $20 at this point. It's pretty it's not outdated in a way that'll really hurt you, but it's a great place to start. I can't recommend just old textbooks on Amazon. Try to get them the newest edition that you can afford and just poke through them because they are literally written to teach people the shit. And you can pick up a more popular science writing like this one here, Evolution, Human Sexual Behavior, will teach you a lot about sex, and they'll teach you a lot about evolution and all this stuff. But like, it's pretty esoteric and it's graphic at times, and like maybe that's not gonna answer the questions you want. It's fucking interesting, but like, just this will just answer the questions that you have. That's what I would recommend. So yeah, that's what I would say, dude. Also, another cool thing that you and anybody can do if you want to like just not so much learn biology, but just be a generally cool person, is go to our playlist for Roll for Initiative and donate to Doctors Without Borders. You can do that too.
I mean, I am a big D&D player, so I'll take a look.
There you go.
Sam,
check it out.
What's your favorite class, friend?
Everyone always makes fun of me for this because I joke no one ever plays it. I love Rangers.
Yes. Gloomstalker?
I tend to go more for like Beast Tamer. I love having a pet with me.
Forrest, hang up on
Hell
them.
yeah.
I'm kidding.
That's great.
All right, well, thank you for all of that information. That was awesome, and hopefully you'll hear from me sometime again in the future.
I hope so, Sam. You're a cool person. You've been very nice. So have an awesome rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye. What a nice dude.
Yeah, they were great. I got to tell you, man, it's I got to nerd out and just watch my buddy be really good at science, and that's fun for me. I'll sign up for that anytime. I didn't know that about the organisms finding safety in numbers, and that makes total sense. That's neat.
Yeah, it's hard because when you're in you're a single cell organism, mostly single cell organisms are going to be the one that are munching on you. And so if you're big, you can't fit inside something's fucking cytostome, and so like you get to live. It's just neat.
It's my life story.
Yeah, it is difficult to consume Jesse Jerdak.
Yeah, I don't fit in any cytostomes.
I'm gonna go on to. I'm glad we got. I did enjoy that call, but I wanted to take anything that's just for me and kind of just put it to the side because I want to do more bouncy back and forths. We've got Kyle, who also called in yesterday, and we asked him to call back. Pronouns he him, calling in from Itchy Lizards. Get him some lotion, who wants to know if we think that witchcraft and new age stuff is delusional. Kyle, you are back on the line with Jesse and Jerdak once again. Jesse and Jerdak. With That's Jesse and Forrest once again. How are you doing today?
Welcome back, Kyle.
What up, guys? Thanks, man. You've that call that condoned the slavery. I do not condone that. And I can finally see how religion is dangerous when you do take it so literally.
Yeah, it's a bad time, Kyle. The bar is very low.
I also want to, I want to also add that I appreciate you defending me from Matt on the bong thing. I thought that was comical.
Yeah, I don't think you were. I don't know. I didn't hear you say anything like that. But like, I don't know. It's not important. I think you've been asking great questions.
You had asked me something, I completely went over it, and I'm like, I want to ask Matt something about his mom, and I was just like, fuck, I fucked up.
It's fine. I don't think that you are a trained debater, Kyle. I think you're just a guy who has honest questions, and so it's totally reasonable.
Man, I'm looking.
Yeah, it's just I don't think you're doing anything wrong unless you were being like deliberately dishonest. I'm not gonna have an issue with you missing a thing. So you were talking about witchcraft and new age stuff. I'm going to answer you with a tentative yes, but I want to know more about, like, do you have something specific you're talking about?
Like how, people get their tarot read, Ouija boards. If you see religion as a delusion, do you also see the witchcraft practices as delusional also?
Okay, so I want to be clear. I don't see religion as a delusion. I can understand how it might sound that way. But so it's really careful. I have to be very careful about how I word this because there's a lot of people out there that will just say religion's like a mental disorder or something like that, and that's just unnecessarily shitty. And it also, it's making fun of and diminutizing actual mental issues and stuff. So like when you use the word delusion, like you're believing something that isn't real at face value. That's what that means, and I'm fine with saying that. But I'm careful about saying that word because a lot of people tend to use that word to just mean you're just crazy. And I don't think that's right. I think that if you believe in a religion, it's because you've been convinced either by bad evidence or you've just been lied to and probably abused. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the people who lied to you and abused you were evil in doing that. Very likely you were taught about, say, Christianity. Let's just say an example. You were probably taught that by your parents, who were taught it by their parents, who were taught it by their parents. And so I think that the doctrine of Christianity is evil and abusive. And so they were abused in this way. They're hurt by it, and they think it's a good thing to pass it on because of what the religion says. So they pass on that abuse to their children, who pass it on to their children, so on and so on. So I would use the word delusion in like the strict sense, but I don't like using it because some people twist it and take it out of context. I would just rather say that, they're believing some bullshit for reasons that they probably shouldn't, because that's somehow nicer to say,
Right.
I know that was really fucking pedantic, but I have to be careful because, I'm speaking publicly on,
Right. Now I have just a random off the wall question.
Yeah.
It seems as though all my atheist friends or what have you, it's like they always naturally use curse words that include God into them, like holy shit, goddamn, and it just seems like it just comes out so naturally. But when you get down to it, then it's like, but there is no God. Like, why do atheists refer to him if there is not?
Have you ever said the words "holy cow"?
I have.
Are you a Hindu?
Right. True that.
Same reason. Yeah. It's just it's common parlance. It's in our lexicon. As for me, I try to work the word God out. I say glob. I say, oh my glob, all the time.
I use Lord as in a recording artist a lot. I'm like, Lord willing, and I put an E on it when I type it out because
praise her.
I got you.
Praise be upon her New Zealander name. Just to kind of reiterate what Forrest was saying, it's a Eurocentric kind of swearing style. At least like English specifically. It's not your atheist friends. It's all your friends that swear do that. I promise. It's just that
you're right.
From the country that you're from, and that's a thing that we do here. I have a buddy that's in Holland. I learned this not too terribly long ago that he swears. When he swears, he uses just diseases and stuff. Like they use cancer as like that's their big one. Which is wild, and they say conquer, which is hysterical because it's the cutest sounding language, the Hollish, and he'll go conquer. I'm like, oh, he's mad now. He's talking about conquer's bad fur day. Here we go.
That's great.
Yep.
Right now, would you say you guys are on the defense that there is no reason to believe that there is a God, correct?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be? For example, I defending something as you guys are trying to defend nothing?
No, I wouldn't say so. So right now, do you believe in any of the other thousands of gods on offer? Do you believe in Zeus or Poseidon or Thor or, Anubis or Quetzalcoatl or any of them?
I believe there's truth and false in everything. I believe that.
Right, but do you believe those gods exist?
I do not.
Right. So, like, are you arguing for nothing, or are you just saying I don't believe you?
Man, that's a good question.
So, like, that's what we're doing. We're just saying I don't believe you.
Now, let's move it. I heard my friend say this the other day, how... because I was about to just give up on all of it, and like how you guys don't believe a global flood happened, correct?
Certainly not. There's no evidence for it. There's no reason to believe it. And if there was such a thing as a global flood, life on this planet would be significantly different. There's a million implications to that assertion.
So the assertion that if it's in most of the religions, like everybody has a flood story, that does not make it credible, correct?
Not really, and for a couple of reasons. Number one is that most humans live around water, especially inland populations, are going to go to rivers, and rivers flood, and that's going to create a story that I believe most of like the Abrahamic religions have like a flood story that can be kind of traced back to like one time that the Tigris or Euphrates River flooded or something like that. I don't remember the specifics about this, but like people live around water and floods happen, and that becomes a story. And when it floods a big enough place, they might turn that into the whole world that flooded instead of just like the several square mile area. Like there's I forgot which Native American tribe it is. They have a flood story, and there's like fuck. I'm going to say so many vague things here, and I hope somebody looks it up and actually finds what I'm actually talking about. There's somewhere in the American Southwest, there's it's in like Arizona or Utah or something like that, where there's really crazy rock formations, and there's like these like rock spires. They're all in a line, and there's this one tribe that says that that's like the spine of some god that was uncovered during a flood or something like that. And it's like, just just another story from this area. And so like, yeah, lots of religions have flood stories, but again, it's not how many people are saying things, it's whether or not there's actually evidence for those things. So if there was a flood that covered the entire world, where did the water come from? Where did it all go? How did all the land plants survive being under salt water for a month or two or however long it was? I think it was a couple of months. How did all of the land animals that were supposedly on the ark, you had 2 of each kind of animal on the ark, how did the kangaroos get from Mount Ararat in Turkey all the way back to Australia without a single one dying along the way? So there's not a single kangaroo fossil anywhere there. How did they get across? Did they take a boat? Like, how did that happen? How is it that all these different animals are so perfectly adapted for their environments if they were just dumped there after this flood a couple thousand years ago? That doesn't make any sense. If you only had like the answers in Genesis says that they didn't actually have every single species, they just had one of every kind. Well, take just like elephants alone. There's so many different species of elephants that we have in the fossil record that would have had to have all existed back to back to back. It would be like a new species of elephant every year. Like, that doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah, I see the problem, man.
There's a lot of problems, and I'm going to put a link in the chat right now to a video that I did on my channel about the flood. Where it was I was reacting to a video where somebody said that mass extinctions never happened, and that in fact the entire fossil record is because of the flood. And there's like a 5-minute segment of me just asking questions that don't make any goddamn sense if the flood is real. Jesse, you had a thing to say.
Yeah, no, I'm just being an arrogant white guy here, but I just thought of something. I haven't heard anybody address this, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't been, and certainly there are greater minds than mine out there. I haven't heard anybody address the issue of potential salinity problems post a biblical flood scenario, because there would be no fresh water on the planet at that point.
Truth.
And things would be dying from the problem of that if that happened.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Yeah, all inland water would be salty.
Now, the dude that was condoning slavery, is that what it's called? Condone, basically, accept?
Yeah, to justify it, promote it, say that it's okay, say it's a good thing, yeah.
Man, I was hoping you would add it in how he said God doesn't want denominations, but it specifically says that God came to divide mother from son and daughter from whatever. I'm just like, what the fuck?
You hear that, Matthew? Kyle's a better Christian than you.
Bro, I ain't here to like justify fucked up shit, you know. I want the truth, man. Yeah. Now, is it true Kyle, if Genesis 1? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you a thing. I'll let you ask this last question, then I'm going to ask you a couple of things, okay?
For sure. If Genesis 1:1 is true, could the rest at least be possible?
No.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I'm gonna answer your question in 2 different ways. First of all, I'm gonna point out the fact that Genesis 1:1 doesn't make any damn sense. So I'm gonna read it here. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Where did the waters come from if he hadn't made anything yet? If it was just void and there was nothing, the earth was without form and void. What's that? What's water going on there? And then he says, let there be light, and there was light. Where did the light come from if he hasn't created stars yet? And then he goes on and he says he separates the light from the day and the night. How are there day and night if he hasn't made the sun and the moon yet and the earth to spin to show different faces of those things yet? Then he divides the waters above and the waters below. That's silly, but whatever. Then he separates the land from the water on the earth, and then he brings forth plants and seeds and grasses and things. And so now we've got plants in a world that doesn't have a sun. How are the plants growing? What's going on with that? Then a little while later, he makes the life. He makes life. No, I'm sorry. Then he makes the sun and the moon. Then he makes life, and it's different. In Genesis 1, he makes all the life from the water. He pulls all life out of the ocean, which sounds an awful lot like evolution, if you ask me. But if you skip over to chapter 2, they tell the same story again. And in this one, in chapter 2, verse 19, God makes all the life from the ground. From the ground, the Lord formed every beast of the field and the fowl of the air and brought them to Adam to name them, and blah, 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 blah. So in chapter 1, he makes all life from the water. In chapter 2, he makes all life from the ground. And then he goes on and he makes, back in chapter 1, after that, he makes all the land animals and all the flying animals, and then he makes humans, and then he makes man and woman, and then later on has to go back and make woman again in chapter 2, because I guess it didn't happen in chapter 1 after all. And so, like, even if the very first thing, even if we could say for sure, just one, God made the heaven and the earth, the only one part of the Bible, if we were to accept just that one part, the rest of it still is, we know for sure it's scientifically inaccurate. And even if we didn't know that it was inaccurate scientifically, it makes no logical sense. It just, the story itself is poorly written and doesn't track. So no, I don't agree that even if Genesis 1:1 is correct, I don't think the rest of it's correct either. Jesse, did you have anything to build on that?
No, you nailed it. 10 out of 10. No complaints.
Wow, man, eye-opening. I'm ready for your question.
Yeah, so like, why do you say you're a Christian and you've asked a lot of questions about God? Why do you still believe in this stuff? Why does it matter to you that this God is real?
I am to the place where I believe that I don't like to claim religion. I would like to say that I am in my brain that God or Creator is a fact. Jesus is convincing, and the rest is all questionable.
Okay. So you say Jesus is convincing. What about Jesus is convincing? Do you mean like whether or not he existed, or the things that he said? Like, what do you mean by that?
The entirety of it, I suppose.
Okay. I'm gonna ask
that he
more specific.
Go ahead.
So asking more specific, if you're saying the entirety of it, the issue that I have with the Jesus story is that every single part of it is a different claim. And that's not unique to Jesus. That's how it should be for everything. So like, if I came to you right now and I said, I had pizza for dinner last night, and also I can fly, it shouldn't matter if I can prove to you that I in fact ordered a pizza last night. The flying thing should raise some questions. Like, that's a different claim that needs its own evidence. So with Jesus, probably he existed. There was probably a guy named something like Jesus. But also, hey, Kyle, is there like a lot of noise going on around you, like a machine shop? I'm hearing a lot of things.
Yeah, man, I apologize. I'm at work. If you need to drop the call, I understand. I just wanted to call back.
Yeah, it's very loud and distracting. Can you get to a quieter place?
It sounds. Do you work at a horse glue factory?
I work at a tire building factory.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, is there a quiet place you can get to?
I will try to move my phone to a quieter place.
Sure.
I don't know if that'll help or not.
I'll be succinct and then we'll move on, because it is very loud. But like, the thing with Jesus that I hope like you'll just think about for a minute is that, like, if you prove that a guy named Jesus existed, great. That does not mean that he was the Son of God. That does not mean that God exists at all. That doesn't mean that he walked on water. That doesn't mean that he turned water into wine. That doesn't mean that he cured a blind man. That doesn't mean that he cured a leper. That doesn't mean that he made a crippled man walk. None of that is true just because he existed. And a lot of people think he probably did exist, but it doesn't tell us anything. Every single one of those claims is different. So even if, let's say you could prove that this guy actually did cure a blind man, amazing. That still doesn't say that he's the Son of God. And that still doesn't say that there is a God after all. Every single one of those claims needs a lot of evidence. And the thing that I hope you remember is that ordinary claims, you can take on ordinary evidence. Ordering a pizza is an ordinary thing to say. You don't need a lot of evidence for it. if you even want to ask for evidence at all, you might just take my word for it. But extraordinary, big, magical claims like being the son of God and things like that, those should require a lot more evidence than just reading about it in a book.
Right. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So I hope you think about that more.
Man,
sorry, go ahead.
It's just the fact that in my mind, it's like if any of them are correct, that would be the one I would want to die with. I guess you could say, and I don't know. That's just how I feel.
Jesse, you look like you had something to say to that.
Oh, I was just recognizing a little bit of Pascal's wager there.
Yeah,
I hear ya.
Yeah.
Well,
no, Kyle,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
you go. I was going to end the call. You do things first.
I was going to do the same thing, but just saying words out of my big dumb mouth. I can hear the donkey factory in the background. You can't convince me they're not turning donkeys into tires.
I just muted the line.
Okay, thank you, Morgan. The thing is, Kyle, and the reason why I don't like the Pascal's wager argument, in addition to it just being kind of logically fallacious, it's also that you get all that we know of is this chance, this shot, this planet, this lifetime, and I think Kyle seems like a goddamn sweetheart. By the way, I like Kyle as a person. Yeah, I'd be Kyle's friend any day of the week. But while I do think that Kyle is doing his best to practice the least harmful version of Christianity he possibly can, if he spreads Christianity, there's no saying that the people, and this is a bit of a slippery slope fallacy, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm big and you can't stop me, that if he spreads it, he's going to spread it to somebody that could do a lot of goddamn harm for no potential reason. Like, at the end of the day, like fucking like Captain Slavery.
Yeah,
that sucks. And who know, there have clearly been other believers in Matthew's life that butted up against him. But at some point, and Matthew was saying that he was not a believer all the time. So somebody convinced Matthew he was a Christian, and now he's going around in his mind potentially condemning people to hell. And what's it all for? If it's not real, why don't we just focus on what fucking matters?
Yeah, and I can understand, Kyle, you mentioned a second ago, Jesse, that this is Pascal's wager, and I think Kyle mentioned that the last time he called. I can't remember. There was another caller that definitely did this idea that, like, I'd rather die and have this belief in Jesus just in case. But as we just mentioned with Matthew, there's thousands of denominations of Christianity alone, many of which are not compatible with other ones that think that the other ones are all going to hell, like Matthew did. And so, like, even if you just say, I'm believing in this thing, which version of this thing? You should still expect damnation by probability alone. And the best case scenario is that you get the right answer, which means you're just pulling one over on God. You think that you can trick the guy, you can dupe him, and he'll have to let you into heaven on a technicality. And I don't think that's how the guy works. So I think what Jesse was saying, and I think what I'm definitely saying, is that, Kyle, you've got this one beautiful life to live, and you've got people around you that love and care about you. And I think if you just try it for 1 second, just take off the glasses for a second and just look at the world as a truly remarkable natural place that you have a lot of questions about, that you want answers for, and you're fucking excited that you get to live in it for a second. And you're so very lucky that out of all the people that could have possibly been born at this moment, you're the one who was, and you get to be in the sun for just a second and see this crazy world and ask big, scary questions, and you're not going to get all the answers for all of them. And that's part of the messy thing that we call life. It's going to be, if you try it for a second, I think it would be very weird and maybe a little bit frightening, because you take the safety wheel, the training wheels off, and you feel very unsafe. But I think it's addictive, and I think it's fun. And I think that the questions that you're asking at this point in time are really, really common. And I think as you keep asking more of them, you'll get a little bit more technical. And pretty soon, I think you'll agree that you have no good reason to believe in this thing, and you're just doing it because it's comfortable. And in fact, your life can be not only quite comfortable, but quite fucking exciting without that shackle of like, well, I know God's there, and I know that I don't have to know where the world came from because God did it, and I don't have to know where diversity of life came from because God did it, and I don't have to be accountable for my own actions because God's going to forgive me, and I don't like. It is scary and fun out here, and if you want to get on this roller coaster with us, we're excited to have you, and we're always going to be here to answer your questions, preferably in a quieter room. Kyle, I really appreciate you calling in.
All right, thanks. Hey, can I be honest with you for just 1 second, though?
Yes, yes, you can.
Please.
Man, the real reason I'm scared to leave it is because I literally, I was a new believer, just trying to get all the knowledge I could. I know how easy I switch up on things I'm interested in. So my dumb ass, because I got tattoos all over, I went and got Romans 12:2 tattooed completely on the top of my head. Like my whole head is covered with that scripture. Man, the music I listen to fire Christian rap music, and man, I don't know, it's like I would have to change my entire lifestyle as I know it today.
Yeah,
and
no, that would
I just
suck,
don't know
dude.
what I would transition to.
Let me ask you. Yeah, no, that fucking sucks, and you're right. It would be very difficult to change your whole lifestyle. Let me ask you a serious question, though, while we're being honest. Would you rather put in the miserably difficult work of changing your whole lifestyle? We both agree that would be hard. Would you rather put in that hard work, or would you rather live a lie and never know who you really are and how exciting life it really is? What's worse?
Right, but how do you explain the head tattoo?
I have a lot of atheist friends
so
with cross.
Fucking bold, bro.
Dude, I've got a lot of friends who are atheists who have cross tattoos and shit like that on their body. Not as big as the whole top of the head, but man, get a cover up and wear a hat and live your life. Or worst case scenario, point at your head and laugh at something that you used to believe in that you don't believe in anymore. Plenty of people do that shit. I have 2 different friends who have tattoos across their chests of a name that is not their wife's name. And you laugh at it. And it's just, fuck, man, I made a bad decision at one point because I believed something that I don't believe anymore. That's part of the messy shit that we call life, man. So I agree.
I fucking love you. And is there any way you can tell me how to donate? Man, I'm going to support you guys.
Yeah. If you want to support this channel, you can do so by joining our Patreon, or you can become a member of the channel, or you can send in a super chat, and that also goes to us. Or if you really want, Jesse and I are doing a fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders who are saving lives in crisis zones around the world. If you want to go over to my channel and donate to that through our game, we're playing a game called Roll for Initiative, and it's like D&D kind of stuff, except it's a different game called Tales of the Valiant. And if you want to donate to that would be really cool too.
Hey, sounds more reasonable than throwing it into a plate that's going into someone's pocket on a Sunday.
I agree. Kyle, I hope you keep calling us back whenever you feel like it and asking great questions like this. Some of the hosts might have, I'm going to warn you, some of our hosts have heard those questions a lot and they might get a little bit snippy with you. Please don't take it personally. They don't know. But like, I hope you keep calling in and keep asking good questions and keep questioning yourself. Keep just fact checking.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys.
Cool. Oh, man.
Take care.
Take care.
Dude, I hope he calls back or watches this back later because, like, I used to be into the Christian rap, and there was this back when I was listening to that. There was this band called Cross Movement, and
that is
fanatic
the funniest name for a band.
Cross Movement. I think the funniest name for a band is Bowel Movement. You know, just logistically, but the one of the members of Cross Movement, he's actually a prominent deconversion / atheist author right now. I actually own one of his books. Really free. I think he might have been on the line. Brady Goodwin is his name.
Okay.
I think I don't know if he's on the line or not, but just small world. I was like, man, there's a Christian rapper that's one of us now, and he's so freaking smart. And it's weird that I used to listen to his music, and now we've come full circle.
I love Kyle, and I love the fact that, like, I really appreciate his honesty there at the end. It's like, fuck, man, it's just hard to change at this point. I'm kind of invested. And like, I didn't want to get into it because I know he was busy and he's at work and all this stuff. But like, Kyle, if you're still watching this, look up the sunk cost fallacy. It's actually a logical fallacy that a lot of people fall into of like, I've invested this much into something, I guess I better stick with it. And it's just never worth it. It is so common and so not worth it that we have a name for it. It's called the sunk cost fallacy, and you should look it up. Because it's you. And like, dude, for real, what I really want to stress is like what this may sound shitty, and I really don't mean it this way. What Kyle was asking, the questions he was asking, are the kind of shit that like you hear at just like any like person who's never been outside of their bubble. These are very, very common questions for people who are very new to the idea that maybe somebody could be good without their religion. And like, dude, it's so fucking cool to hear somebody who can be that new to this thinking and that honest about it. I wish we had 1 million people like Kyle that were calling the show, because I guarantee we'd have 1 million new atheists in a week.
The cool thing about Kyle, too, is like if more believers were just like Kyle, I'd probably be less militant about trying to deconvert everybody. Like, that guy's cool as shit.
Oh, man. I also want to throw out, fuck, that scared me. I touched my headphone and it apparently pressed play on the Roll for Initiative episode that I have up to keep track of the donations, and you were talking to me in my ear in a different voice. I also want to say to Rick Lambert in the chat, who came here just to post a bunch of dumb shit about pronouns, call in.
Yeah,
let's
buddy.
talk. Now's your chance. The lines are loaded, but I'm about to take a call, which means one's going to be open, and you should call us. In fact, Amargan, if you're listening, line number 2, I don't think we're going to have time for anyway, so please thank them very much. And let's open up that line for Rick to call in and tell us what his issues are with pronouns so we can discuss how biology and grammar work. We're going to be here for you, dude.
Please do. We'll give you an honest ear.
Yeah. So we've got a few other calls waiting, and let me just double check really quick. 7 we're at $7,777 just from the YouTube alone a minute ago. We are now at $7,820 just from the YouTube alone, because people have been going over there and donating. So let me just really quickly, 7820. Oh my gosh, get out of here. There we go. 7820 plus $188 that we have from just the merch sales. That spells boob. That's $8,008. Plus the Tiltify's also gone up $6,063 there. That set us over the edge. We're now at $14,071 raised for Doctors Without Borders. Thanks to you guys here on the line being super cool. We have raised over $14,000 to saving lives in crisis zones all around the world. The people of Palestine and the people of Ukraine and the people of Congo and the people of Chad and the people of Yemen and the people of Sudan and the people of everywhere else that needs the help more than ever are very thankful for the gifts that you've given. Thank you all so much for helping us make the world a slightly less crappy place. Amazingly cool of you. With that, we've got...
Oh man, I hate that sound.
Let's do doing it. Dave. Yeah, let's do Dave. Dave, pronouns he, him, calling in from orthological, calling in from orthograde rectum. A straight butt. Very up and down. Who wants to discuss evolution and binary. That's what it says on the call screen. Wants to discuss evolution and binary. I don't know what that means. Dave, you are on the line with Jesse and Forrest. How's your day going today?
Hey, just wonderful. Hope you guys are having a good time.
Yeah,
This is not the call you guys think it is. Because
Okay.
I'm not as much of a bigot as I used to be, and one reason is
Okay.
because I watched Forrest's video called "Sex and Sensibility." I've watched that
All
like
right.
5 times, and
I'm making a
that's
better
really
one this
helped
year.
me.
I'm trying to redo that video by the end of the year and make it better, because that was my first video like that, and man, I hate how much I'm banging on the table and shit, and I didn't include everything I wanted to. I really appreciate it. I just hate myself and everything that I produce, and so I have to say,
Oh, that banging on the table really bothered me too. That's why I only was able to watch
It
it like
sucks.
5 times.
it sucks.
know.
I'm so sorry. It was my first long video. I didn't know what I was doing.
Anyway, let me define my terms. Evolution. I'm not talking about biological evolution. I'm talking
Okay.
about something else. You know how in
Okay.
Southern Europe 2,000 years ago, everybody spoke Latin? And
Mhm.
then all of a sudden, somebody in Spain started speaking Spanish. Wait, no, that's
Yeah.
not how that happened. Languages evolved, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the evolution I'm talking about. Now,
Of language
I don't-
specifically, or of culture?
yes, well, all encompassing.
Okay.
Because the binary I want to talk about, I don't speak much Spanish, but you
Mhm.
know that in the Spanish language, there are male things and female things. That's binary.
Yeah, it's a gendered language.
So, right. So, like for example, you can have 2 different geological formations. You can have La Mesa and El Capitan. Those are both
Right.
a couple of rock formations.
Yeah.
But why is the table female and why is the captain male? And can't you
Right.
have a captain who is a transgender?
So the thing
Of course
is,
you
like,
can.
you're just talking about like language as a cultural construct, and like, yeah,
Right.
there's Spanish. Most European languages had an idea of a binary gender system, which we've now kind of learned isn't real, but that's what their language is structured on. And like, even my Spanish professor in college was open about that and said, yeah, this is how we do it in the language. It kind of sucks, and we're culturally sort of changing it a little bit as time goes on, but that's going to take several generations. And like,
Well, that was my question.
that's just
My question is
It's-
how many generations? How long do you guys think it's going to take for us to knock that binary out of the European language?
it depends on the proliferation of social media, and how fast new ideas get shared. In my opinion, we are seeing, especially with my generation and every generation after me, we're seeing people who are really, really, and I say especially because I'm the one in it. Not that I don't have any data to back that up, but like, for me, I can speak from my experience. Well, that's a better way to do it. I was born in 1992, and I lived my whole life asking questions about why the world is so shitty. And everybody older than me has just said, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Just quit asking questions. Just deal with it. Just accept it. Just grow up. That's just the way it is. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to build a career where I have enough clout and enough money and enough social leverage that I can then make it not the way it is anymore. And I'm going to fucking change the whole world. And of course, I can't do that as one dude. I need a lot of friends. But then you got Gen Z coming in behind me who are crazy in the best possible way. And they're the ones who are willing to go punch a Nazi. And they're like, yeah, no, for real, we're not going to wait till we have clout and money. We're just going to go do the thing. And so when I look back at the best and most effective revolutions in history, they were all because of the proliferation of information technology. Just information sharing getting better. And we are in a golden age of that, and things are getting better and better and better now. And so for me, I see plenty of hope that my grandparents and parents that were like the flower children of the 60s and 70s and stuff, my parents were hippies, and my grandparents were like fighting against segregation and stuff, and like their dream is starting to come true in my generation and in the generation after me. And I think that the more we are willing to venture out into the scary world and change things and kind of take society by the horns, the faster things are going to change. So I'm very hopeful. I can't give you an exact answer, but I'm very hopeful for the future. Jesse, do you have something else?
No, I like that you mentioned social media, because I do think it has a huge influence on the way that our vernacular is developing. If you look at not even just Zoomers, what do we call the guys after the Zoomers, the little bitty guys?
Gen Alpha?
14, the Alphas, my God, their lingo is wild. And so I think through the proliferation of social media, and I don't even know what Alphas watch, man. I gotta tell you, but
Skibbity
they've
toilet.
got their own language. Skibbity friggin' toilet. Have you watched those videos? They're addictive, I'll say that. But I do feel like a weird old man. I'm like, it's just terrifying and weird and repetitive and dark and sinister. And but yeah, the little guys think that shit's rad, and good on them. They're hard to talk to.
Yeah.
So I think that another factor is, hopefully we as a nation push back against regressive values that are emerging, that we're fighting against in the current electoral cycle, because there are people that are pushing back against not even just having non-gendered language. We had people pushing back against just respecting people's preferred pronouns, that's so. If the bad guys win, it's going to take a long fucking time. So hopefully the bad guys lose, and hopefully they all drop their phones in an outhouse, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's you're talking about. We already have people who are like just pushing back against pronouns, like Rick Lambert, who came to the chat to say some dumb shit about pronouns, got banned from the chat, and then bitched out and refused to call in to defend his position. Weird how that works, huh? Anyway, I think Jess is absolutely right. We have a lot of social pushback, but I think we've already gone way past the point of reaching critical mass in like getting enough people who are willing to set aside old, outdated, and unscientific thinking, in that respect at least, and kind of move forward into a better age of respect and compassion.
Well, I hate to tell you, but that's not how this works. I'm about 68, 69 years old, and I used to be one of those late 60s, early 70s guys with the aspirations of grandeur and how we're going to have a wonderful society. And then we started electing more assholes, and all those dreams kind of got thrown away. And so I've been waiting 50 years to have a female presidential candidate, for example. Yeah. But that whole 50 years that I had to endure was so stressful and disappointing, and it almost drove me to religion almost. It actually drove me to a couple of different religions, because the world in the Reagan era, for example, was not the direction that we wanted to go in the 70s. And so I hope that we don't have that kind of fallback, but historically, that seems to be kind of what happens.
It is depressing, and not to sound like, the same every other leftist on the internet, but it is really unfortunate how much our country continues to just dig into fascism and into extreme unfettered capitalism and into this weird corporate. Oh, no, it's not. It's certainly not. But we were supposed to be the good ones. You know what I mean? Like, I know we never really were, but the propaganda that I got when I was a kid is that we were the people who had the world's best economy and the world's best artists and the world's best scientists. And we were the place where everybody came to for opportunity. That's why my family came to this country, was because it was the place to be free and to see the reality. Exactly. And so, like, to see the reality of it now, that this is actually a place where you can actually be too poor to live. And if you get very sick and you don't have a lot of money, the government's plan is that you just fucking die. And that, like, we are currently giving billions and billions of dollars to wars and genocides around the world while deliberately leaving our own citizens to sit and spin. Man, it is fucking depressing. But it gives me, I'm a very quixotic person, and it just gives me more fire, and it makes me want to go out and do more shows like this, do more speeches, do more political rallies, do more door knocking, do more phone banking, and fucking vote. It makes me want to get more active because like I am the kind of person to rage against the dying of that light. And that's where I come from. That's my whole jam.
Watch out for those windmills because there's thousands of dead birds under each of them.
Precisely. Okay. Dave, did you have anything else you wanted to ask? And also, how's your deconversion going? I saw on the note here that your last time you called in, you said you were on the path to deconstruction. You wanted to talk about souls and stuff. How's that going for you, man?
That's going pretty well. I talked to Aron about this subject, and he gave me a whole lot of research, and I've not had time to do a whole lot of it. I've been in the hospital lately. But
I'm sorry.
But the hospital I was in was a Catholic hospital. And just being subjected to that, being a born Catholic and trying to bust out of that all my life, being in the hospital kind of helped push me closer to your side of the fence, shall we say.
Praise the Lord with an E.
If that makes
Love that. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I love that. Well, I'm glad to hear. I'm sorry to hear you were. Sorry to hear that you had to be hospitalized. I'm glad to hear that you're better now. I think I said sad the first time. I'm going to say it again just in case. I'm sad to hear that you were hospitalized. I am glad to hear that you are better now. And I hope that your deconstruction continues to go well. And I hope you call us back if you have any more questions about it.
Okay, I appreciate you guys taking my call.
I appreciate you, Dave. Have an awesome rest of your day.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cool guy.
Nice dude.
Yeah.
Really nice dude. So I've got 4 calls here in my queue, but my thing says 5, and I don't know why. But I know we have at least one line still open. If there's specifically for theists, I only have one atheist that I've left on the line, and it's because they wanted to talk about biological sex and intersex things, and I figured that would be interesting to get to here in just a minute. I'm going to keep that guy waiting for a minute, though. I'm sorry, because we have a couple other ones left that I wanted to dive into.
Reload call-in studio.
We've got.
Oh,
I'm sorry?
Reload call-in studio.
Oh, flip. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, shit.
Oh,
now
shit.
It says I have 7. It's worse. It says I have 7 out of 6 lines filled now. What is that?
You're so popular.
Reload it again.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, no.
I reloaded it again, and now it says lines are full, even though I've only got 4. Are the lines closed? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, the lines are not closed. Call-in studio.
Lines are not closed.
Sometimes.
The lines are not closed. We should have 2 lines open, I think. The number is 720-619-2288, or use the link in the description box only if for please only theists, because like we just have all theist calls tonight right now, and it's great. But or even if you're not a theist, if you're an atheist and you want to talk about pronouns and whatnot, talking to you. What was his name? Randy? Rick? I think it was Rick. I don't even remember your name because you were so incredibly forgettable. I would love to talk to you about the stuff. We've got Andy, pronoun she, her, calling in from colossal orangutans. I think I already said orangutans today. Calling in from crispy...
crispy onions?
Crispy
Delicious.
Onions.
Delicious.
Yeah, that's good. Crispy
Thanks,
fried onions. That's good. I appreciate that. Andy, pronoun she, her, calling in from Crispy Onions. Now, it says you're listed here as a natural theist, and the question is, should I call myself an atheist or a theist? Andy, you're going to have to define a lot of terms here.
I understand. This is my problem. That's why I've come to you for advice. So, I grew up pretty fundamentalist. I deconstructed during the BLM stuff. And then this year, I've recently sort of like reconstructed or started reconstructing.
Okay.
And so, by a natural theist here, I mean, like, I don't think I have any supernatural beliefs. I still think that, like, God as, like, a thing, as, like, a philosophical concept, as, like, the way we talk about the universe, about, like, life is, it's good, it's poetic, I like it. And I'm kind of, like, I feel like I'm still a skeptic, but I'm also, like, trying to be a Christian. And I just want to be, like, clear when I'm, when I'm talking to people. And so I've got this sort of, like, fringe sort of, we'll say, conception of God, right? Like, oh yeah, I think the universe is God, or whatever. And I'm just really struggle because, like, when I talk to, like, atheists, I feel like, very theisty, and when I talk to, like, more traditional classical theists, I'm like, what's all the supernatural stuff? I feel like, just a straight, like, atheist. I want to be like, what the heck are you thinking?
Yeah. I guess it really boils down to, do you believe in a guy that has magic powers that created the universe or not?
And so the answer is no. I don't believe in, like, a guy who created like I don't think that there's any reason to believe that, like, God is, like, minded. I might like eventually slip over to, like, some sort of, like, process theology. But that's super dense, and I'm just not there. And I don't know that I'll ever be there, and that's frankly fine. But I want to hold space for it.
Would you assert that, like, like the Big Bang, the age of the Earth, evolution, any serious problems with any of those, or are those kind of good in your book?
Oh yeah, those are all great.
Cool. And so would it be a leap to say that the sum total of all of those things, all those natural processes, and the way that the universe works in this way is the God thing, or is a function of the God thing?
Yeah. I'm mostly. I think of myself as, like, a Spinoza's panentheist, right? So
Precisely, yeah. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Is it like a Spinoza situation? Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's that's exactly precisely what I believed in when I was 21 years old. I was like, yep, the whole universe together is energy doing stuff, and it's all miraculous and magical and wonderful. And if I squint my eyes at that and turn my head to the side about 30 degrees, it looks like a thing that I can call God. And therefore, God is the stuff that does the stuff that is the universe that does things. And then I realized that was kind of silly, and I stopped. And I just called myself an atheist, because at the end of the day, I have words for all of those things already. I don't need to add an extra problematic word called God, and I can be just as excited about the universe without prescribing any kind of agency to it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
now I would call you a theist, but I don't think you actually are.
Okay. I mean, so the other bit is, I'm thinking about, I also, in that time, discovered I'm trans. And so I've got maybe some interesting thoughts about, like, is what's ontologically a God, right? God is a symbol that we made up. And if I want to point that symbol at other things, other useful things, since classical God is just not true, it's just not. I'd rather, if I've got, like, all these words and these vocabulary for God that speaks to me, and I feel like I can be, poetic and expressive in it. Like, why should I give up on that? Like, just because no one understands me. And, I've got to go through this big whole thing to, like, be like, no, here's what I think, really. And that's, I'm hoping that, like, as time goes on, things will be better for natural theists. But, like, we're just not there right now. And I want to be like clear with my communication when I like initially like, you know, meet people. I'm like, hey, I'm, you know, a theist, an atheist. Maybe agnostic is just best.
Andy, for one thing, I'm happy for you that you discovered that about yourself. I think that's really cool, friend. I wanted to ask, is the primary utility of calling something kind of intangible a god, is it just a means of like personal expression for you? Because I keep on wondering what the utility of this is, and I'm trying to actually listen to you rather than, you know, insert my own stances on this. But I'm trying to find like the cause and the function that you're finding within using the terminology.
Sure, and I think this is actually pretty topical to the question of the title here. Is religion better than skepticism? And I think the answer is that's a silly question. It seems like a silly question to me. They just have different roles. So, you know, with religion, when we talk about like, you know, what benefits, I like to think, you know, what's worth saving from religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's community, there's you know, I find like shared practice. I like corporate singing. I really did enjoy like, you know, the worship music. I like, you know, the philosophy of Christianity, like Christ as a good teacher. You know, when he is a good teacher, and you know, looking at you know, it's motivation for me to like think about my neighbor and how I can you know, best like, you know, love my neighbor, right? This is a philosophy that even when I deconstruct it like this, I held in my heart.
That's I you know, I miss the community of church sometimes. Not often. I've got a pretty robust community of friends at this junction in my life, but especially shortly after I deconstructed, I did find myself wanting for that. And I know Seth Andrews, who is a brilliant mind and a beautiful voice on the line, it talks about this quite a bit, where atheists, we lack community sometimes. And so I do see the
I'm going to
utility.
tell him you said that, by the way.
Why is that? Don't tell him don't tell him shit. No.
I'm going to tell him all that. I'm going to tell him all that.
It's on. He can watch it later. Don't, I'll blush. Anyway, I do see the maybe even necessity, especially for somebody that's going through some shit, of community. So you know, I don't want to disregard that, but I wish that wasn't necessarily just a function of a religious organization. You know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I certainly, like, I haven't found a church yet. I maybe hope to, you know, want to, like, mostly just fellowship online with people. I definitely got my problems with the institution of the church, and I think that, you know, I think there's something maybe worth trying to save from the inside.
I admire your optimism, friend, and I mean that sincerely. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I admire your optimism. I really mean that. Like, I'm a bit jaded when it comes to that, because I don't find there to be a lot to be saved from the inside. But Boris, do you have anything to say to that, pal?
Yeah, I would just say, like, if you're asking me, I would call you spiritual, but like, what the fuck does that even mean? And frankly, it's not
Right?
worth your time to try to include that. If you're trying to say, how do I define myself to somebody, maybe that would help, because most people that I talk to kind of take that as meaning some new age woo woo, half science, half not kind of thing. But like, honestly, like, girl, I think you're like on your way to just not caring about any of this and just calling yourself an atheist too. And I think that like the community that you're lacking can be found elsewhere, even if it's just in some friends that can, like, you know, you can bullshit around with. Places like this are great because they allow people to get together and talk and laugh. But like the shitty thing about atheists is that we just don't believe in a God. And you have shitty atheists. You have good atheists and bad atheists, and Republican and Democrat and conservative and liberal and nice and assholes and everything in between. And so it's kind of hard to find like friends. But like honestly, I think putting in the work on that side is a lot better and more beneficial, even if it is a lot harder and maybe in the short term lonelier than just like kind of trimming yourself and the way you present yourself to suit other people, and making it more palatable for them so that they will hang around you and maybe not agree with you. There's this is not exactly what we're talking about, but there's this old quote that I've loved since I was a kid that if you trim yourself to fit everybody's expectations, you'll very quickly whittle yourself into nothing. And I think when it comes to belief systems like this, if you're trying to find the way that makes it make the most sense for somebody else rather than the way that makes the most sense for you, you're more liable to have somebody else pull you into their bullshit, which you may not actually believe and not be comfortable with, but now you're kind of just there, and that sounds horrific. So I would rather not deal with that shit and just be, say, hey, I don't believe in any of this shit. I think nature's really fucking cool. And I think that the processes that create things like galaxies and planets and humans and cheese are beautiful and wonderful. And I love learning about them and thinking about them. And I'm in awe and reverence of them. And I feel connected to everything in the universe when I think about nucleosynthesis and stars. And I can feel like I'm at a family reunion everywhere that I go when I think about evolution. And I feel like I'm so much bigger than I really am when I think about the unbroken chain of matter and life that led up to me over billions of years. And I feel so much smaller than I really am when I think about the unmeasurable vastness of the cosmos around me. And I feel like I'm the least important thing in the universe when I think about how little my life actually matters and how insignificant the time scale of my life really is. And I feel like the most important person in the whole universe when I think about the incredible microbiome inside my body and what a significant piece of the story of humanity I am. Whether I want to be or not, I am a shaper of the tale of my species, and all of this together makes me feel so incredibly happy and sad and elated and emotional and everything all at the same time. It is, for lack of a better word, a religious experience just to wake up in the morning and take a breath and be excited to live in a world where I can see and hear and smell and taste and feel and think and understand. And I am so unbelievably grateful for every single one of those things every single fucking day. And I don't give a fuck what you call that because it makes me very happy. That's what I would say if I was you. And I would also probably call myself an atheist.
All right. Well, thank you. That's a lot to think about.
That's how that's how the Forrest Valkai do every day. If that's I think you and I are on the same page on a lot of things.
I think so as well. I think you know what? I'll say I'm just willing to call one more thing God than you.
Well, stop it. That's my advice to you, Andy. Andy, you've been a great caller. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Have an awesome rest of your day. Bye-bye.
You as well.
She's nice. I think she's called in a few times before and has had similar questions. And or at least if she hasn't specifically, I know there's a lot of other people who have had similar vibes as her. And it's just so cool. So cool to see people going through these same journeys. And I hope that we can be some sort of helpful.
I hope so too. Forrest Valkai.
Yeah.
Oh, Mahalia Yaga donated $20 to roll for the initiative in hopes that you and I would do something. Are you feeling up to that tonight, my friend?
I've got some wigs.
You got some wigs? I got some wigs upstairs.
Hats. Yeah. Let's do at least one. We've got 3 atheists and 1 theist on the line. Let's pop some wigs on and crank through them because we fucking broke $14,000 today, yo.
Yeah.
Like we have something to celebrate, and I think wigs are a great way to celebrate.
I think
Because
so.
if we can look that cool, let me just quickly do the math one more time while you're grabbing your wig.
I'll be right back. Give me 30 seconds.
Yeah. Do your thing.
Don't look at my butt.
I'm gonna look at your butt a little bit.
Dang it.
Oh snap! There it is.
Ha!
I love it. So that's $188 there, and then if I look at the Tiltify, we've got 63 there. We are up to $14,091. We are $9 away from being at $14,100. You guys are getting us there. You're making magical things happen, and I fucking love it. So if you out there are watching this and you're like, man, I want to donate to this thing, but I want to make sure it's really something special first. I don't want to just donate to something kind of mediocre. We just broke $14,000. Donate. And if you're like, hey, I need a cool reason to donate, the cool reason is that this organization saves lives in crisis zones and conflict zones all around the world. And you can be a part of that right now just by going over to my channel and looking up the Roll for Initiative playlist and just plopping on the donation button. Let me get the whole playlist here. Hey, I'm grabbing the playlist and I'm going to put it in the thing because I think the person who usually copy pastes the playlist isn't here today. There's the playlist. You can go there, watch any of those videos, and you can see us roll for initiative. You can watch us do the thing. Or if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. I don't give a fuck. I'm not a cop. Just donate is what I'm saying.
I care.
Okay, so I've got...
Watch it. Goddamn.
I've got a few options here. I've got this one that's very long and hot spanking pink.
Okay.
I've got the one that I wore last time, the Fraggle Rock. It's rainbow and it's layered in a really cool way. So you can get that one. I've got this one, which is pink, blue to green, almost trans flag. Very interesting. Very demure. Very nice. I got that one there. I've also got this Minecraft hat of a pig. It's a pig hat that someone, Minecraft gave me this at VidCon this year. It was actually from YouTube Gaming. Gave me this Minecraft hat of a pig, and it looks about as bad as it feels, y'all. I don't know if you can hear.
Oh,
it's like wicker. It's awful.
All right.
I'll wear that.
I'm going to start off with Disney's Tarzan here. So if you Google Jesse Jerdak Tarzan, you'll see me mostly naked. So don't do that, or do I don't know.
That's pretty nice.
It'd be good for views. Who knows? So here we go.
Can we get that up on the screen?
It'll be in my heart, Forrest.
I'm gonna go with the pink one here. I'm just gonna strap this onto my dome piece. Like that. Yeah. Oh.
My bangs are all fucked. I'm sorry.
Oh God. Yes.
Oh, look at you.
Why put me on the full screen? Why are we doing that? It was both of us, and now it's just me. I'm gonna pull this back as far as I can to make my forehead as big as possible.
I put Jesse up by himself while you were getting.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Well, you were in your unmentionables, Forrest. Okay, cool. We look very serious. Let's take some serious calls.
$14,000 that we have raised to save lives all around the world, and it's your money doing it. So thank you so much for donating. And if you want to see more things, keep donating. Oh, did I tell you, by the way, are you familiar with the dissect the boy bit, Jesse?
Dissect the boy? No.
Okay, it's not important then. I know Monkey at Typewriters here, and I saw that earlier, but there's this running gag on the line that I dissect children because I encouraged someone to do it once.
Good. Oh yeah, I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, and while I was in Ecuador, a fan named Tina, she came along and she brought me this. Let me unwrap him here again. She brought me this terrible little doll of a little boy, and if you take off his little hospital gown here, oh gosh, and nudify it, you see the zipper on him, and you can unzip him, and you can Dissect the boy. Look at that. This was a gift from a fan. My fans are the best. Look at this. And another one of them crocheted me a goat because I'm the goat, they said. How sweet is that? Love it. I just want to say thank you to those people while we're here. Okay, I'm incredibly hungry, and I think you are too. So I'm going to jump into the next call. We've got one person dropped. We've got two atheists and a theist. So we'll take the theist cursed. We actually talked to this person yesterday as well. This is Giddy. Pronouns he, him. Calling in from undulating titties. How do I make skepticism and learning personally enjoyable? During researches, vetting sources, etc. for myself is fun until I get confused. I'd rather watch a YouTube video on it. I've been told this is propaganda because I don't do research well. Giddy, you're back on the line. How you doing, dude?
Hi. So yesterday you actually you said untrained testicles, so you're keeping on theme.
Undulating titties. They can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Perpetual motion.
Okay,
Yeah, so
anyway.
learning and researching things, it's a skill. Researching is a skill. You have to get good at it. I always recommend textbooks because those are things, especially if it's like a good one that's actually used in colleges and not just somebody wrote a fucking book and said it's a textbook. That's what the actual people who are in the field are using it to train new people into the field. So you can be a little bit more trusting of it. That's what my first piece of advice. Jesse, what do you think?
I'm Getty. I'm a little bit like you. I like to watch the YouTube videos. One thing I do is I try and confirm through primary sources after I hear something rather compelling on a YouTube channel. But just my particular brand of neurodivergency makes it easier for me to absorb information visually and through an auditory means, visually and audibly. And then I will try and confirm later that the person I'm listening to is actually smart. Which is kind of why I fell in love with Forrest's content, because not only is he ethical, kind, and correct, he's very smart.
Oh, I can't wait to disappoint you, my friend. Honestly, there's a lot of great channels out there. If you're the kind of person that just doesn't like sitting down and just reading through a dense ass book, you're not alone. Most people don't. I only do it because it's stuff that I genuinely enjoy. There's a lot of great channels out there that'll teach you real stuff. And the key is if you read or hear something or watch something or whatever that like really just doesn't stack up to what the rest of people are saying, you know what I mean? Like there's some great channels out there that in a very flashy and engaging way will tell you all about how evolution isn't real. You need to then be asking a lot more questions and seeing what other scientists say about it. And what because like there are actual biologists out there that say that evolution isn't real. There are actual biologists out there that believe the earth is 6,000 years old, and they've trained and they know what they're talking about and they get it wrong still. So just like be willing to take in multiple sources and double check yourself. That's a big thing as well. And when in doubt, write a letter to a professor. You would be surprised at how many university professors genuinely fucking love what they do. And if you send them an email and say, hey, I'm an avid learner, I'm not a professional, I'm not going to school, I just don't fucking understand this. Can you break it down for me succinctly or at least tell me where to turn? A lot of the times they'll ignore you, but there are some of them that'll actually do it. And I've had some success doing that a few times of like, hey, I've got this video where somebody's saying this, you are a leader in this field, I don't understand. Please help me understand by telling me what you actually mean by XYZ thing. And like they've actually gotten back to me and cleared some shit up that even I didn't get in my own education. That's happened a few times. So that's what I would recommend doing. That's a great place to start.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So my two brain cells today are fighting for third place. So thank you for making that just incredibly easy.
Yeah, happy to be of service. I hope it helps. Just keep exploring and keep asking questions and look for people's credentials. Like look for what they actually say. Like I don't talk about the degrees that I've achieved or like the work that I've done unless somebody directly asks. And that's because I'm kind of like a big part of my brand is that anybody can be a scientist and it's not just for crazy white dudes and shit like that. So for me to go around swinging papers around with diplomas and shit, I think is a bad look, but I certainly don't hide anything. but be skeptical if somebody's coming out here and like they have no training in this field to speak of, and then they're speaking intelligently on it. That doesn't mean they're wrong, but it does mean if they say something that sounds a bit too good to be true or kind of crazy or something very different than what other people are saying, you need to double check what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Not yet, but maybe eventually.
You'll get there. You'll get there. And I hope
You can
that
catch it
answers
on
your
the
question,
replay.
Giddy. Yeah. And
It-
also,
probably there was a lot
anybody
of
who
words,
calls
so most
videos
likely it would.
propaganda, anybody who calls videos on YouTube and stuff propaganda, should probably be able to define what propaganda is, because some of it is, but a lot of it isn't. It's just a video about something that somebody doesn't particularly like. And so they throw around words like propaganda. And especially I found a lot of people today throwing around words like propaganda and communism and socialism and Marxism and all sorts of things, which are very different things, as if they are all the same thing, and it all means not Republican. So just be aware of that moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Giddy, have an awesome rest of your night. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
calling in.
okay. That's it.
Thank you,
Take
Giddy.
care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very nice. Very, very kind. We've got 2 left, and I'm trying to go through them so we can do super chats without being here all night. But I'm not going to speed too hard. We've got, do you want to do the one where I'm going to talk about biological sex for like 5 minutes, or do you want to do the ones where we talk about chiropractic and probably we can both say something? Which one do you want to do first? We're going to do both.
Oh man, yeah, that dealer's choice. If we're hitting them both, I've got my chiropractic hair on, so I'm ready.
All right, cool. We'll take the chiropractic one next. Then we've got AJ, pronoun she/her, calling in from Nimble Hamsters. Real quick little guys bopping all over the place. Says the skeptical community has a blind spot when it comes to modern chiropractic. I somewhat agree with you. AJ, you are on the line with Jesse and Forrest. How are you doing today?
Hello, it's a pleasure to talk to you, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure to have you on the
Hey,
show.
AJ.
Yes.
Came all the way around. You see that? So yeah, with chiropractic, what exactly are you talking about?
Well, my experience with like the skeptical media is that chiropractic is basically dismissed whole hog on a regular basis. It's basically used as the example of, woo. It's just woo.
Yeah.
And I understand that because the origins of chiropractic are a complete and utter mess and have been almost completely debunked. My concern is the fact that even if you look at those debunking studies, they do talk about things like lower back pain. And there have been studies since then that have established, I don't know how well they've established it, because I'm not that good at figuring that stuff out, that that there is actually a significant effect that it can have on things like lower back pain. And with our aging population in the country, well, in the U.S. anyway, and, probably across the world, and the fact that humans are so poorly designed physically, like, we're basically meant to live to 50 after we've reproduced. And lower back pain is a huge, huge issue in the country, and just pain in general is a huge problem for quality of life. And because we are wholeheartedly dismissing chiropractic as a source of pain relief, I feel like we're actually doing harm.
Yeah, so like I think you hit like all the nails on all the heads here to say like the origins of chiropractic and the main claims made by the concept of chiropractic care are all horseshit. It's kind of like I think of chiropractic like those inversion tables. You put your legs in a thing and it turns upside down. You hang at different degrees, different angles. These are things with like chiropractic care and those things as well. They claim to be able to like cure all diseases. Everything in the world is related to this, that you can manipulate the spine and cure your cancer, cure your autism, cure your hepatitis, cure any ailments at all. And that's BS. However, there is some research that shows that it is sometimes a little bit helpful in very specific ways. With chiropractic, I'm pretty sure like there's some evidence that it is a little bit useful as a like, you know, just for like back pain sometimes. However, there's a lot of like harm that can also come from it, especially with most chiropractors who go around making a bunch of bullshit claims and popping especially people's necks when they just needn't be doing so. Same thing with inversion tables. There is a little bit of evidence that inversion tables are kind of useful for short-term back pain relief and nothing else, and they don't have any long-term benefits, and they are oftentimes more dangerous than is necessary for the pain relief that they give. And so with chiropractic, there's some stuff that it can do. There's a lot of stuff that it can't do. It's not worth it, in my opinion, to have it around. And yes, there are people that could benefit from it a little bit, but I think there's a lot better ways to get the same benefit without the baggage of the rest of the woo-woo science. That's my take on it. Like, I've gone to a chiropractor a couple of times recently because I specifically had one back problem that I just needed to be kind of like stretched and straightened by a person who knew a lot about back physiology or be like the anatomy of the back. And so I just had them like kind of like, it was basically like a massage because I kind of hurt my back while doing a thing. I wouldn't have gone there if I had a serious like slip disc or anything else. It was just cheaper than going to a doctor and getting an x-ray. And it felt nice, you know? Yeah, that's my whole thing. Jesse, do you have any particulars on chiropractics?
You know, I've looked into it a little bit. I actually used to work with a chiropractor for a while. And it was as a skeptic, it's hard because you work with somebody who makes their whole living based off of something that they wholeheartedly believe. It's hard. I have not been able to educate myself to the point to make an informed statement. However, I can tell you it generally feels kind of good. I don't know that I've ever noticed any long-term benefits, but in the moment, if somebody squishes your upper back, it feels kind of nice for a little bit. That's been my experience. I'm sorry I can't provide anything more in depth.
Yeah, no, that really is what it is. Like there are some things that it definitely sometimes helps with sometimes, and very rarely in a long-term way. My grandfather was a chiropractic doctor. He was a chiropractor. I got chiropracted on a lot as a child, and I know a lot of people that do it. That's part of the reason why I went to one recently, because they're more abundant and a lot cheaper than a physical therapist, and I'm going to get the same benefit. And so, like, that's fine. But I certainly wouldn't go to one to try to cure any serious ailment that wasn't just a purely mechanical musculoskeletal issue. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And I that's not even what I'm arguing for.
I don't think you are. I'm just being very clear about what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I more the concern that I have is that I think we're underestimating how big the problem of structural pain is in the United States. And people are getting surgeries, people are getting shots, people are getting all sorts of things that aren't actually even that useful either. Unfortunately, because the problems they're not the sort of problems that are an easy fix with a surgery or something like that. You know, you can get spinal fusions, but that just stacks up and eventually you just can't move, and things to that effect. Whereas for people who have problems with, you know, their hips not working properly or that sort of thing, I happen to be one of those. You know, I go to the chiropractor every once in a while, and it, to me, like, I can explain exactly what the chiropractor is doing that is helping fix me. It's not a long-term solution, but my body definitely works better than it did without the treatment. And some things you just can't cure. We're not at a point where there are things that we can cure. But that kind of chronic disabling pain can ruin the extended lifespan that we have if you're in constant pain. I mean, that can drive people to suicide sometimes. It's extreme. Yeah. But when you're in constant pain, it just ruins your quality of life. But because we just wholeheartedly dismiss it as a general community, now obviously not everybody, but as a general community, we just say, don't go to the chiropractor. And I think that for a lot of people who consider themselves as the sort of people who want to be skeptics, who want to be learning from the best minds, that takes it out of the running completely as an option and is, putting people in a position of not getting something that could relieve the pain, even if it's not a long-term solution. It's not going to solve my hip, but if my shoulder goes out of joint, I have to put the joint back before it's going to heal.
I can understand that, and I can agree. I can agree with a lot of that. And like, there are limitations to modern medicine, and a lot of the times when you look into people who are charlatans pushing naturopathic medicine and all the real bullshit that we can all agree is bullshit, you get a lot of people who say, like, I wasn't getting the answer that I wanted to from my doctor, and so I went here because it sounded better. And that's a lot of the times what drives people that way. I would say,
right, and that's bad. That's bad.
Don't use the failings of modern medicine to turn to pseudoscience, and be very careful of that. If you're looking into chiropractics or whatever else, just be very careful not to think that they're going to solve the problem that nobody else can solve. And I think a great way to do that, if I was you, if I had to give anybody any advice, is ask your doctor about chiropractic care and say, hey, I know this are serious limitations. However, this is something that is a specifically musculoskeletal issue. I don't want to do surgery because I know that while that may be beneficial, it has its own host of complications, and there is no purely beneficial form of medicine in that way. It is by definition a lot of harm that I'm going to have to heal from in order to try to make this other thing better than it was. And I don't want to deal with that right now. I'm already in a lot of pain. Who do you recommend I talk to, and what questions do I ask to try doing this in a different way? And maybe they'll be able to give you some stretches or some treatment plan that actually works, that isn't just popping your neck and telling you that you're cured. But that's what I would say. I think you're right to say that it shouldn't be wholly just written off completely, but 99% of the time it should be wholly written off completely. And for that 1% of the time where it's useful, I think you should go through a legitimate doctor first to make sure that that's the path that you want to go on, and trust what your doctor actually says.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think there's tons of studies being done on it. The studies that I did look up on NIH and Scholar and all that sort of thing, they were saying that there were benefits for pain and that sort of thing, in addition to other things. And in my personal experience, a good chiropractor, if it's something out of their realm, will tell you to go to a different doctor. They're not going to claim that it cures everything. That's what a good anything
would do. Unfortunately, most chiropractors don't do that. Yeah. Anyway, AJ, we got to move on. We're at the end of the show.
Yep.
But I appreciate you calling in and talking about this.
Thank you very much for your time.
Take care. Bye-bye. Also, look up licensed and trained massage therapists and physical therapists, y'all. Also better. Because even a massage therapist, you got people who own a massage parlor out the back of a Jimmy John's, and they just want to give you a good old rubbing. Don't go there. But I had people. So I currently work I'm currently studying at the Oklahoma State University Center for Health Sciences, where I was working in their anatomy lab for a long time. And I led a tour of massage therapy students from the local massage therapy college. And they came through, and they knew anatomy better than some of the grad students there. And they were asking really good questions about where different things were. And when I'm treating this, what am I actually looking at? Here's what this actually is. We're taking feet apart and looking at the different layers of tissues to understand what we're talking. When we say plantar fasciitis, this is what's inflamed. This right here. Let's look at the plantar fascia and see what it is. They were doing an amazing job. And I would trust any one of them before I trusted a chiropractor on most things. But yeah, dude.
Did you say taking feet apart?
Yeah. Dissecting feet is a difficult thing to do. It is tricky.
Quentin
because they
Tarantino
are
has left
dense.
his cat.
I bet. But I've dissected some feet in my day. Are we changing? Are we changing wigs?
Yeah, I was told that my wig was not silly enough, so we're going to go with Brock Sampson.
Oh, hey. Look at my fucking hair. Oh, that's good.
It's better when I can like spray it down. Better when I can.
It wouldn't be good to wear it for like a whole call, but I do have the Tooth Bunny mask still.
The Tooth Bunny. Terrible.
The Tooth Bunny. Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I don't think anybody else wants to hear that. I'm going to go with the hot pink one. And we will take. We've actually got 2 calls, and I don't know if I want to do one of them because for a lot of reasons. But like, I'm going to do one more that I know is good. It's the sex and gender one, or at least the binary sex one. It'll take me just a minute. This person's been on hold for almost 3 hours, and I don't want to rush them. But like, honestly, there's not a lot that I can say about it that is going to be particularly interesting. We've got Sam, pronouns he, him, calling in from Gigantic Anus, who wants to talk about determining biological sex and intersex people. Sam, you are on the line with Jesse and Forrest, and mostly Forrest. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How about you guys?
Never had a bad day.
Doing good.
So did you have a specific question about this? You want me just to kind of give you like a 2 or 3 minute rant about how this all works?
I've got a couple. I guess maybe one main question, because when I've looked into this sort of thing, usually the answer I find is no, intersex is not a third sex. And one of the major, contributors to why is I hear gametes. I don't exactly know what gametes are.
Yeah. So gametes, germ cells are the same things. The term germ cells and the term gametes are the same thing. They're sperm and eggs. And so like when they're the cells used for the purpose of reproduction. There are some organisms out there that are isogametic, where they don't make differently sized gametes. There are some that are anisogametic or anisogametic, that like us, that make differently sized gametes. And that is usually how biological sex is like classified. When we look out in nature, if you make lots and lots of little gametes, we call you a male, and we call those sperm. If you make very few large, usually immobile gametes, then we call those eggs, and we call you a female. That's usually how it goes. But like, that's like a very big, broad thing, and not everybody makes gametes. And so, like, if that's the only thing that you're using, you're going to have a bad time classifying a lot of things.
Yeah.
And you're right. Intersex is not a third sex. Intersex is a blanket term for, like, dozens of different ways in which sexual development doesn't go to one of the poles. It kind of just flops somewhere in the middle. And so the thing you have to remember about sex in nature, even just in humans, where it is significantly, more concise. Sex is a multivariate system. There's not one single determining factor for sex. It's several different factors all coming together. There is a suite of hormones and chromosomes and genes and structures and organs and stuff that goes into it. All these different things all playing together to produce the emergent property that we call biological sex. There's not one single defining thing for it, and also not a single one of the factors that goes into biological sex has only 2 options. Not a single one of them. And so what you end up with is a sex spectrum. You have a bimodal system where most people fall pretty close to the poles, but a lot of people fall somewhere in the middle. Because they have all the hormones for this and all the chromosomes for that and all the plumbing for this and all the body parts for that. Like I said a minute ago, I'm studying for a master's in biomedical science right now at this Center for Health Sciences here in Tulsa, and we are very careful when we're talking about people, whether they are cadavers or living, whatever. We say we don't just say this is a male. We say this is an anatomical male, phenotypic male, hormonal male, chromosomal male, genetic male. What are we talking? We want to be clear what we're talking about, because no one of those things necessarily implies all the other ones of those things. And not a single one of those things is synonymous with the word man. Man is a totally different concept, because that's gender and we're talking about sex. So like that's what all that comes down to. So no, intersex isn't a third sex. It's just the blanket term for all the variation between absolutely definitely male and absolutely definitely female.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Well, sorry, everything for you there, Jesse.
I'm sorry?
sorry I didn't have anything for you. Or for
That's okay. I would have given the same answer, only not nearly as smart. I would have been like, no, it's not a third one. And then that would have been the end of the conversation. I would rather talk to you about something else. But Forrest had all the science behind it, which is cool.
That's my whole job.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, I hope this helps. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
For more on this, I would recommend if you're out there watching this and you are a new learner and you have questions about it and you want to know what the people in the science world say, you may remember a minute ago I held up my copy of Campbell Biology, and mine was a 9th edition that I had there. This is a 12th edition here, and you can get this PDF online. You can buy it for super cheap, and you can go Control Find, and you can look up intersex, and they have a bunch of stuff in here about how intersex conditions work, and how it's talking about trans people, talks about sex determination. I love this sentence: sex determination is an active area of research that will likely yield more sophisticated understanding in years to come for all the people out there that think they learned everything there is to know in the 3rd grade. You can also look up, hold on just one second, this book. This, for those of you, remember I showed the serious book, and then I showed the one for new learners, the one that's a little bit less intense. That's this one. It's called Campbell Biology Concepts and Connections. This is 10th edition. This is the newest one. This is the Intro to Bio for Non-Majors one for people who don't want to get super into it, or don't want to deal with a bunch of jargon and stuff. And again, we look up the word intersex, and here we see we now know that sex is not a binary state with just 2 well-defined outcomes. Because of the complexity of genes and proteins involved in sex determination, many variations exist. Some individuals are born with intersex conditions, and we talk about trans people, we talk about, and then the same sentence, sex determination is an active area of research. We're learning new stuff about this stuff right now. And especially over the past 100 years, we've been really, really ramping up our understanding, but especially over the past decade, maybe a little even less, that's kind of becoming public-facing scenario. So yeah, it's a lot of really cool new shit, and you can be a part of that if you want to be. We need more biologists.
Well, I don't know about biology. That kind of freaks me out a little bit, but
Right on. I appreciate you waiting for so fucking long, Sam. Seriously, thank you very much.
I'm here for the long haul. I watch all these shows every time they're on, so no big deal.
Right on. All right, I'll see you soon, Lee Sam. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. All right. We have one more call on the line, and I'm going to make it very fast. It's Jackie, pronouns he, him, calling in from minuscule scrotum. We talked to Jackie yesterday, Jesse, and then Jackie called in again on the Sunday show after dark, and was banned again by Matt because Matt had enough of his sophistry and his quote mining, and just like name dropping a bunch of people that we don't think that he's actually read or like seriously considered as just parroting whatever they say. That's what Matt was talking about. Jackie is a Jordan Peterson fan who believes in a God for a lot of reasons that neither of us find convincing. He's the one who quoted the Kalam cosmological argument and said it wasn't the Kalam cosmological argument.
I'm fully prepared
and
to
is
take this
now
very
calling
seriously.
in. Yes, as seriously as my wig will allow. Jackie is now calling in to say the collective unconscious and the unity of phenomenology is evidence for religious megatruths. Now, yesterday when I was on with Matt, Jackie said that the unity of consciousness, the way that we all compile information in our brains, and that the sound information and the sight information and the touch information all combine into one unit of data that we're able to put together, that all is proof of God. Not convincing. And now he's saying something else. We'll see what happens. Jackie, you are on the line with Jesse and Forrest. We're going to see how this goes, because I've talked to you 3 times now, and it's getting worse and worse. Jackie, you're on the line. How are you doing?
To be fair, though, last time I wasn't even allowed to present the case because Matt was too impatient with me. If you want to just my case,
Matt was very, very annoyed and bored by what you were saying, and I haven't talked to you as much as Matt has, but like it's frustrating. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about Matt behind his back with you.
We're not talking about Matt, but can I just explain one thing?
No, please. I would rather you just explain the thing that you called in about, and then we'll see if it makes any sense, and we'll address it, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay, but just because it's necessary to make my point, can I just please explain why I name dropped the philosopher?
I don't think it's important.
But if you let me explain why it's important, you'll see why it's important. It's because in order to have a preface to my conversation, so we have shared terminology and have a shared understanding of what we're talking about, I have to have a prelude to my argument, and that's that.
I just explained to someone who called in a bunch of like really important and politically and socially salient stuff about modern biology, and I didn't mention one name of anybody. You don't have to do it. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not as annoyed by it as Matt is. But I get why Matt is. And so just the fact of the matter is, dude, either your argument makes sense or it doesn't. It doesn't matter who else said it or who else backed it up or anything like that. Well, there are prominent biologists. There are prominent biologists. I shouldn't say prominent. There are well-trained and credentialed biologists who disagree with me on a lot of things. And there are plenty who agree with me on a lot of things. And I base my understanding of biology on my own on what I've learned and on the academic consensus of those things. And I don't have to name drop anybody. But none of this is the point. The point is that you called in to say that something about consciousness and phenomenology, which I didn't think I would have to talk about phenomenology ever since my fucking grad school. I hate the shit, but whatever, is evidence for mega truths. And I don't, you said meta truths, pardon me. I don't know what a meta-truth is, and I don't know what you mean by anything in this statement. So I'm going to need you to be very succinct about it.
Explain. So basically, what I was trying to get at last time is the postmodernists like Gilles Deleuze, who I massively disagree with, because they say there's not a shared meta-truth that Western culture is based on. They say it's a system of oppression or capitalism or patriarchy or whatever. What I would say is that there is actually unity of phenomenology. Things aren't different. There is no Nietzschean transvaluation of all values. And basically, the biblical canon and Judeo-Christianity, the archetypes presented are true. And not only are they true in a literal sense, they're meta-true. That is, they're consistently happening. So basically, the central claim of Judeo-Christian philosophy is that if you take a leap of faith and make the appropriate sacrifice like Abraham did when he sacrificed Isaac to God, then you'll be rewarded, right? Abraham tried sacrificing Isaac. He took Kierkegaard's leap of faith, and when he took Kierkegaard's leap of faith, it turns out it worked out well in his end, and the nations that descend from Abraham are blessed in the Bible. So basically,
didn't work out super well for Isaac.
Of the human condition. To use Jungian terms, the archetypes, right, and the collective unconscious that are implanted within human beings, human nature. The postmodernists will lie and say there's no human nature. No, there is a human nature.
Jackie, I'm going to cut you off for just a second, and I want to explain something to you. I am not a philosopher. I'm a biologist, and Jesse is a goddamn good DM. That's what we do for a living. Jesse fucking tells awesome stories on camera and puts together cool games and discusses religion. I learn about human bodies and I used to do research and I teach about the nature of evolution. Neither one of us is particularly interested in talking about which philosophical schools are claiming different things or lying about things. I'm interested in the claim about whether or not your God is real, and if he is real, if he's a good person and if he's worth worshiping. That's what I'm interested in. So you're talking about this whole leap of faith thing. Let's just dig into that. Rather than talking about all these, different, just why is it important for your God for us to take a leap of faith and be willing to sacrifice a child rather than him just popping up and saying, yo, here I am, I exist, and here's what I want you to do? Why is it more important for him to have the leap of faith?
Because the human nature, the archetypes that are embedded within human structure that are the same across cultures is and particularly profound in Western culture, is the idea that if you make the appropriate sacrifice at the appropriate time, the idea that you listen to the spirit of order, the dragon of order that extracts order out of the fiery waters of chaos, then you'll be rewarded with order again, as opposed to the delusion chaos.
What came first? Human nature and Western philosophy, or God?
Well, God, but is the eternal spirit.
Which is more important and powerful, Western philosophy and human nature, or God?
Well, I would argue because of the Judeo-Christian meta-truths, Western philosophy is in line with the divine will. But yes,
why is
God's
that a
will
difficult question to answer, Jackie? Why
God's
is it
will is
difficult to
supreme.
answer whether God came first or human nature came first, and whether God is important or human nature is important?
Well, God is important. I just don't think it's a dichotomy. God's more important than human will.
I'm asking you which came first. That is necessarily a dichotomy. One thing came before the other, unless you're asserting that human nature and Western philosophy came into existence at the exact same time as God. If that isn't the case, one of them came first and one of them is in control, right?
Yeah, God came first, is what I said.
Is God in control, or is Western philosophy and human nature in control?
God is in control.
Then God could make it so that we do not need to take a ridiculous leap of faith in order to know that he exists. God knows exactly how to reach every single person and convince them. I am still speaking. God knows exactly how to reach every single person and to convince them that he exists and that he is the way and the truth and the light and all that shit. If God is all-knowing and all-powerful, God can do it. And yet he chooses not to, and has instead chosen that we need to be willing to do things like sacrificing our own children in order for him to give us the grace of letting us know that he exists. That's a stupid and evil God.
No, you know God exists. Do you have a higher purpose you're aiming towards in life? Do you have a conscious, do you have a dragon in your life that extracts order out of the fiery waters of chaos?
I don't think I know.
No.
I get metaphors aside. No, I don't like any of what you're saying. But to speak, addressing what you just said in the spirit that it was given, no, I do not know that God exists. And I do not equate any sort of meaning or purpose for my life, anything that I give my life by myself. I don't equate any of that to any kind of God. And I'm frankly offended by any proposition that my strive for meaning and my work to make the world a better place, my efforts, my education, my work can better be attributed to a belief in some monster in the sky.
I gotta tell you, I reject the premise on its face. I don't think that the notion of the great risk taker is that those stories are told by the survivors, not by the failures. The great risk taker is not an aspirational thing. There are millions of failed businessmen who sunk their entire worth into ventures that never took off, and they died in poverty. So no, I reject the premise from the get-go. It's a flawed premise. It's just because the archetype exists doesn't mean that it's a good one.
Well, for example, are either of you gentlemen married?
Yeah. Are either of us married, you said?
Yeah.
Yes, we are both married.
Well, when you marry somebody, you're taking Kierkegaard's leap of faith that that spouse will be a good relationship with you. Just like when you take Kierkegaard's leap of faith with God, you're taking that leap of faith that will have a good relationship with you, just like you do with your wife.
Those are not even close to comparable, and if you were honest with yourself, you would know that. No, I do not take a leap of faith with my wife, because I dated my wife for 10 years. We got married on our 10-year anniversary. And we lived together for 9 of those 10 years and shared all of our resources and all of our money and everything like that. We have taken care of each other for over a decade. We have cared for each other for over a decade. We have been kind and generous and sweet to each other for over a decade. We've never hurt each other deliberately in over a decade. I have every reason to believe that she is very loving and that she loves me and that our relationship is a good one based on the evidence in front of me. Her actions over the course of over a decade are evidence for her feelings towards me and the benefit of our relationship and what our relationship will be in the future. I don't know for sure. Maybe she's playing a really, really long game and she actually hates me and is dragging it out for a long time for some reason. I have no idea. I'll never know. But the evidence of our relationship gives me a reason to stay with her. It's not a leap of faith at all. It's a very happy thing that we chose to enter into together because we really like each other. It's not anywhere close to just deciding that there's a guy who lives in space who whips up life and planets and shit because it feels good to think that. They're not even remotely relatable.
So what you're saying is, just to clarify, that you, the reason you take what I would consider a leap of faith with your wife is because you've had a relationship with her. But I would argue because you're part of the Western metaphysical substrate, because you live in a culture whose metatruths are based on Judeo-Christianity, effectively, we have the time, right? The West has been inculcated with Judeo-Christian metatruths for centuries, so we already have the time in their experience. That's centuries more time than you have with your wife.
That's absolutely not true. Western culture has very much been influenced by Judeo-Christian philosophy, but like a lot of the freedoms and benefits that you get from your society today did not come from Christian tradition and did not come from Christian thinkers. They were stolen from indigenous cultures in this plane. And so, like, no, that's absolutely not, or, sorry, in this continent is what I meant to say. That is absolutely not true at all. And even if it was true, just because something has influenced my culture doesn't mean that it's true or valid or useful to me at all. This country was built, the country that you and I are currently living in, were built by a bunch of slave owners. It was built on the enslavement of one race and on the genocide of another. I don't think that they had the best ideas about a lot of things. So just saying, well, this country is influenced, your culture is influenced, whatever like that, doesn't mean shit to me. Because at the end of the day, my life is only influenced negatively by Christian culture. It is positively influenced by liberal thinking, and I don't mean that politically liberal. I mean like getting away from that kind of puritanical and parochial and patriarchal kind of thinking that comes along with that common Christian tradition that you're talking about.
Marriage is older than Jehovah.
That is also true.
Because Jehovah isn't real. Jehovah is a war god from a tribe of people that were kind of assaulting Egypt about, I think, 3,000 years ago. People were being married long before the notion of Jehovah became a thing.
Yeah, it's important to remember, like, marriage existed across cultures too. Like the Native Americans over here that had never heard of Christianity had a concept of marriage, and they practiced it.
I'm not just talking about marriage. What I would say is that both of you are actually influenced by the metaphysical substrate of Christian culture. For example, do you believe in the divinity of the individual? Do you believe the individual is sovereign and has inherent dignity because they're a human being?
No.
I don't like the word
really.
divinity. I believe in like personal freedoms, and I believe that human lives are valuable, but I don't believe in divinity of any kind.
Yeah, I believe that human lives are valuable because of like what I give to. No, I don't believe anything matters, let alone like not even including human life or any life at all. No, I'm big on cosmic nihilism. I don't think that anything has any inherent meaning or any inherent worth whatsoever. I have my own set of morals that are based on my scientific understanding of human health and well-being that lead me to not be, a shit person. God, this is itchy, dude. Like, it's the itchiest thing.
Molly, I don't want to be wig guy anymore. I'm going to do this now.
You're not being Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. You're not killing people. You're not going around killing or raping people, are you?
I don't. But I don't do those things. I would say I don't not do those things because I believe in any like divine entity telling me not to. I don't do those. I don't not do the. What am I saying here? I don't do those things because I know that I'm not important or special, and I don't think that my will should have any domination over anybody else's. It's about bodily autonomy. It's not anything to do with divinity or anything like that. I just know that I'm not the only person in the room, and I don't think that my life matters any more than anybody else's. So I try to not be a dick. That's all that is.
but that comes from the Judeo-Christian metaphysical substrate.
Not at all. Do you honestly think that all over the world before Christianity and in all over the world in places that had never heard of Christianity, people were just raping and murdering and doing all these horrible things because they had no idea who Jesus was yet?
They were practicing human sacrifice right here in America before.
And so were
Europe.
Christians.
Where were the Christians practicing child sacrifice? Other than maybe
Christians, look up the Spanish Inquisition, look up the Crusades, look up the witch trials, look up all the times that Christians have murdered innocent people en masse because they believed that God wanted them to do it. And that is really seriously no different than, some, a Central American tribe cutting someone's heart out for the sun god. It is absolutely not different when you have people like in the Spanish Inquisition is a great example where you can literally be tortured to death because somebody claimed you didn't believe in Jesus hard enough. And not to mention the fact that Christianity itself is a religion about human sacrifice. The story of Christianity is not one that says human sacrifice is wrong. It is the story of one human sacrifice that was successful. Jesus Christ, man in the flesh, God in the flesh, came down here and was tortured to death, and his sacrifice absolves you of the sin of being born as a human. It is a cult of human sacrifice. The concept, the central dogma is human sacrifice, and they have absolutely raped and tortured and murdered and genocided their way around the planet, spreading their religion by the sword for centuries. So don't act like you're on some fucking moral high ground because you believe in Christianity. You're not. The fact that Christianity is a major theme in our culture has more to do with the atrocities that Christians have committed than it does to do with the reality or legitimacy of the literary text.
Well, I would argue that the abuses of political Christianity throughout history have not been in line with the metaphysical substrate being presented in the Bible.
And so you end up with a no true Scotsman fallacy, where just like the very first caller we had, they were the wrong Christians. They did Christianity wrong. But you have the right Christianity. Out of all the thousands of versions of Christianity, the thousands of denominations, and all the other thousands of religions on offer, you happen to have the right interpretation of the right translation of the right version of the right one in the right culture at the right time in the right country. Aren't you lucky? And for that reason, you're able to benefit from all the structure that comes along with the thousands of years of genocide and rape without actually having to participate in it. And then you want to tell me that because I don't believe your God is real and I don't believe your God is good, that I'm borrowing from your worldview? Absolutely not.
I believe on some implicit level, because part of the West, you're part of the Christian dialogue, so to speak. You're part of the metaphysical substrate. I would also argue, for example, the fact you're a biologist, right? You're a scientist. Scientists are implicitly religious because the central tenet of science is that truth is the highest virtue, and that truth will set you free if you explore unknown truths. So that is to say, wrestling with tohu vavohu, like being order out of chaos, is a central claim of science. The idea, what we don't know, into the knowledge base of what we do know will set us free, and that is the central claim throughout much of the biblical narrative.
Jackie, I understand that you're 16, right?
Yeah, I'm 16 years old.
Okay. I want to be very clear. I am not saying when you get older, you'll understand this is wrong, because that's a fucking shitty, stupid, demeaning thing to say. What I am saying is that the things that you're talking about here, they're not only not true, they're offensively not true. And it plays to, I remember you said that you like Jordan Peterson. This is the reason why people like Jordan Peterson are popular, especially among young men, is because it sounds an awful lot like you've got this knife that can just cut through all the bullshit and unite all the confusing things about life and about worldly experience and unite them all down into one single thing, which is this Judeo-Christian worldview, this metaphysical substrate, as you keep calling. I don't know what the fuck you mean by that, I'll be honest with you, but I'm trying to get it by context here. When at the end of the day, what you're doing is just undefining every bit of this premise into nothingness and saying that because your religious tradition is dominant, don't care about why it's dominant, because it is dominant, therefore everything hinges on it, and that somehow recursively validates it, and it's just not true. That's not how it works. And it sucks to hear you parroting these things without actually taking the time to double check them and to see if they hold up to scrutiny.
Well, you would disagree with the premise I just said, that scientists are implicitly religious because they believe truth is the highest virtue, and that by confronting the fiery waters of chaos, that is the unknown, and bringing it into the known.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Is that rather than just being able to succinctly lay out your premise, you continue to repeat verbatim, word for word, these flowery, poetic ways of speaking that sounds an awful lot to me as an educator like you're not actually coming up with these concepts, but you're just parroting what somebody else said because it sounded really pretty, and maybe it made them look good in a debate because they were debating against some college kid that didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. That kind of Ben Shapiro style, they use the pseudo-intellectual language against people that are they're just a professional arguer. It sounds to me like you pulled a script out of ChatGPT, and those are the premises that you're going to lay out, and they just don't make sense. Now, I'm not saying that's what you did. I'm saying that's what it sounds like to me. Now, yes, I absolutely disagree with that premise. That's the kind of shit that you say when you're having an academic discussion of the concept of religion, and you just say that religion is technically undefinable because it could encompass any ideology or worldview at all forever. And so saying that you value truth over ignorance is inevitably a religious claim, and therefore you're actually religious. And then because you said I'm religious, therefore I'm actually Christian. That's what you're actually driving.
That's not what I said.
And that's horseshit.
What I said was...
That is the line that you've drawn.
Can I just... To clarify, I didn't say that valuing truth over ignorance per se is what makes you religious. I said specifically the idea that truth will set you free is a religious claim.
What do you mean by that? What does free mean in this context?
So similar to how truth in the Bible sets you free, right? Honesty. Similarly, science says if you, for example, study medicine as a biologist, then that'll save people's lives. That's the idea that the truth that is unknown brought into the knowledge base that is known will set human beings free. And that's a claim.
So when you say the word free in this context, you mean it will provide literally any benefit ever?
I mean, life-saving benefits. I mean, there's all sorts of benefits from the scientific enterprise.
Scientific enterprise.
What you are saying?
I would argue that the words in the Bible will not set you free. I would argue that we have fairly empirical evidence showing that the words in the Bible will absolutely condemn you to a life of subjugation to falsehoods and dangerous ideals that are not productive and not healthy. I do believe that there is a degree of, I hate using the word freedom in scientific study and gathering of knowledge, but there is benefit. But I don't know if there's even necessarily freedom in that. Freedom comes. Freedom is a concept that is almost outside of these things. Truth that sets you free it's a platitude,
Mm-hmm. And it's an especially meaningless platitude when you use it the way that you're using. And I'd also like to point out, to build off what Jesse said, the truth of the Bible will set you free doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the fact that the Bible condones slavery. So kind of the opposite of setting people free in that regard. And we have people in the chat here talking about how their parents family members have died because of their religious belief. Because you have people like Christian scientists with a Christian Science religion where prayer is better than medicine. So no, it doesn't. my idea, my philosophy as a scientist, that truth is better than ignorance, and that truth brings about benefits, even if the truth is unpleasant. That's not a religious thing. That is a secular thing based on evidence.
Well, I got this idea because I heard Jordan Peterson say that science is an implicitly religious enterprise.
And that's one of the many reasons why Jordan Peterson is no longer a professor nor a practicing therapist and is currently fighting for his license because he continues to be a transphobic dick. Go watch Matt Dillahunty's debate with Jordan Peterson and watch him stumble all over himself whenever he isn't in a pseudo-intellectual bullshit debate with a college student.
Well, the main thesis I've heard is that it's the opposite. Jordan Peterson is like the opposite of Deleuze. Jordan Peterson is the opposite of the postmodernist because he said
I don't know who that person is,
chaos.
and I don't care.
Well,
I care about whether or not what you're saying
meaning-
is true. I don't care who said it, and I don't care what philosophy backs it up. I care about whether or not it's true. Why do you believe that the Bible is true?
Because I believe the archetypes in the Bible represent truths about the human condition that are eternal and transcendent.
Like what?
Transcendental.
Like what?
Like the idea that there's a spirit of adventure which calls you on your consciousness when you're doing something bad and encourages you that to take the necessary leaps and to
which
do
is
what is
also
right in the face of danger.
which is also explained by countless other religions and also evolution, which is by definition not religious. So you have a thing in the Bible that you like that is explained just as well by other religions and is explained better by science. Do you have any other things you'd like to throw up there? Or do you have one maybe that means something?
I'm trying to get across this. You also have to understand I'm not the best professional speaker. I don't have public speaking course like you do. I'm trying to articulate my words in the best way possible. I'm trying, because I think you're a really smart guy, but it's hard for me to communicate if we don't have a shared vocabulary. But I guess what I'm trying to
Jackie,
say is,
it would be so much more useful if you could just speak succinctly and using, like, don't quit name dropping people and quit trying to use big words just for the sake of using them. I can do that shit too. It's how I write in an academic setting. I would never speak to somebody that way because it's unnecessary and just gets in the damn way. Tell me why you believe the Bible is real. That's what I want to know.
It's Dharmak and Jalad Tanagra.
Nice.
What the Bible says essentially is, instead of a continuous line of chaos, instead of a postmodern nightmare, there's order. And that order comes from a divine will. And that divine will explains the nature of reality. It explains the value of truth. It explains the divinity of individual life. It explains the importance of responsibility and the virtue of honesty. It encourages all of these archetypal things I believe are embedded in our subconscious, our collective unconscious, Jungian terms.
Jackie, let's deal with what you just said, okay? Two things. No, three. Pardon me. Three things. Number one, as I said a minute ago, what you just explained is nowhere near unique to Christianity. So saying that the Bible says it, therefore it's useful to you or it sounds good to you, you could pick any other religion, you could have it. Second of all, evolution also explains about these different behaviors you're talking about, and it doesn't require God at all. Third and most importantly, let's assume I believe you. Let's assume that instead of chaos, there is order because of the will of God. What does that order look like? It's not just whether or not God exists. It's what kind of God is it? You live in a world right now. These are numbers from the UN. I've got them pulled up right here. I will put them in the chat for everybody to see. You live in a world right now where 25,000 people, including 10,000 children, starve to death every single day. That's the world your God made. Your God made a world where today in 2024, when we have the best technology that we've ever had, the best food distribution that we've ever had, the best everything that we've ever had, today, over 1,000 people die every single hour in the most painful and terrifying way possible. That's what your God does. Is that worth worshiping to you? Is that the kind of order that you want from the chaos?
Yes, and I'll explain. So have you read the book of Jonah?
Yes, it sucked.
Or Job. I mean Job, Jonah.
Yes, I've read the book of Job. It sucked worse than the book of Jonah.
Well, Job, God's answer to Job is, "Where were you? Where were you when when the universe was being created by God's will? That God has a purpose."
It's an
for everything.
incredibly stupid and megalomaniacal thing for him to say. I can torture you. I can allow Satan to torture you and kill your family because I'm in charge and I've got the biggest dick. That's the message that God sends to Job. I can do what the fuck I want because I'm in charge. And where were you when I made the universe? That's a tyrannical asshole. That's a dictator.
With an emphasis
Or
on the
you
dick.
to say you know more about the moral order than the creator of everything else.
Clearly.
Other than itself.
Clearly I do. Because if I saw someone raping a child, would stop them. Your God says, go ahead and finish. Have as much fun as you want. I'll deal with you later. That makes me better than your God. Also, I don't condone slavery. Your God does. Your book clearly explains how to keep slaves, how to beat slaves, where to buy slaves, how to treat Hebrew slaves differently than non-Hebrew slaves. And at no point in the entire book, even when Jesus comes along, does anybody ever say that keeping human beings as farming equipment is a bad idea. So yes, I am more moral than your God, and I think you are too, Jackie.
I was going to just say that because Jackie, I honestly think, Jackie, I think you're smarter than Jordan Peterson, because I gotta tell you, Jordan Peterson would not be able to articulate the complex and convoluted points that you are. I gotta tell you, I spent a little bit of time as a trained actor. I can hear either recitations of lines or reading of lines pretty good sometimes. And that's okay, because you're learning, and you're 16, dude. You are so smart. I promise you're smarter than Jordan fucking Peterson. He's not that bright. He's just a huckster. He's a flim-flam artist. He's a grifter. It's all a grift. He definitely appeals to your demographic, to young men that don't feel like they're being heard. And he is grifting you. And I promise you are out of his fucking league. He sucks. He's not good at this.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, Jackie, I've been real harsh with you for this whole call, and I'm sorry. I know I've been, you're a kid, and I'm speaking pretty hardly with you, but the things that you're espousing here, they're not only wrong, they're harmful. They're harmful to you, and they're harmful to societies. And they breed the kind of Eurocentric white supremacist bullshit that people like Jordan Peterson promote. And it makes you into a shitty person. And I hear the way you're speaking, and as I said a minute ago, it's very clear to me that it's a script that somebody else gave you. No 16-year-old speaks this way, and I'm not saying you're too dumb to speak this. That's not. I'm saying the way that you're presenting this stuff is like this cold, calculated horse shit that you are. I don't think you're enough of a sociopath to say on your own. And just as an educator, as someone who's been teaching people for over a decade, it sends some red flags up in my head that this is some shit that somebody else said to you that you're repeating. And quite frankly, it is a pipeline that will send you into some alt-right nonsense. And I don't want anybody to go down that way. So just dude, I strongly encourage you to just question what these people are saying a little bit harder, because I promise you, they're not the heroes that you think they are. And all that they've got going, especially people like Jordan Peterson, the one note that he's been playing for the past, 8 years, is that trans people don't exist and you can't force me to be woke. And that's all he's got. He says, I have a PhD in psychology and I don't like woke people. And he doesn't know what the fuck woke means. And that's his job now. That's his whole online personality. And like Jesse said, he appeals to young men who feel like they're lost and feel like they're not being heard and feel like they're not being taken seriously, because he tells you that you're super important and special because you're a young, white, probably Christian guy, and that you're the most oppressed person in the whole world because other people have rights now, and that makes you bad. It's just fucking shitty, dude. And it sucks to hear somebody like you, who's clearly bright and clearly has their whole future ahead of them, falling into that trap.
That's the thing, is your future, Jackie, if you let go of that jackass, is so bright. It's so fucking bright, so cool. If you can let him go. because you are special. And I mean that, and not the fucking stupid Jordan Peterson way. Like, you are a brilliant young man. Like, you, and it's not because of your oppression, and it's not because of your heritage. It's not because of the substrate of whatever fucking bullshit that is in the script, but it's because you are uniquely brilliant. Let go of the teachings of a man much younger than you.
I don't agree, by the way, with the racialist. I don't personally believe there's sufficient evidence to determine about like Ashkenazi IQ or anything like that. I don't agree with the alt-right stuff. When it comes to
yeah, well, that's the kind of shit that Jordan Peterson has pushed. Didn't he get in a lot of hot water recently for posting a thing about some like genetic racial link to IQs and shit? I don't think I'm making that up. If I am, call me out on it, please, because I don't want to spread lies about somebody. But
I don't know.
I'm 99% sure that. Let me double check. Just really quick. Hang tight. Jordan Peterson, racist IQ tweet, and just see what comes up. The unwelcome revival of race science is the first thing that comes up here from the Guardian. And we'll just scroll through here, and I'll just do Control Find and look up Jordan. Yes, here. Jordan Peterson and others have all piled on the genetic intelligence thesis, using it as a ballast for their views that different population groups inherit different mental capabilities. So yes, he's a fucking phrenologist. He's publishing and reposting this bullshit idea that different races have different mental capacities. That's insanely racist and stupid and not backed by any actual science. So this guy sitting here calling himself a scientist, pushing pseudoscientific racist bullshit because he's too fucking full of his own ego to actually check. If you're fucking following a guy who's too busy sucking his own dick to read a new book, I don't know how to help you. I think you need to drop this dude. And I think you need to check things for yourself. And I think you need to look up the actual scientific evidence on things like trans and intersex people. Go back and rewatch earlier on. I literally, the last call before you, dude, I showed 2 biology textbooks that I teach out of at a university, that I've learned from at a university level. I can pull up another one that I've got right over here, my old genetics textbook from my undergrad, that talks about trans and intersex people. And like this, you've got this dude whose whole fucking job is to dead name Elliot Page so that he gets some more attention and can sell another shitty book. What a hero. Like, I'm sorry. And you're talking about the book of Job. I'm sorry, we're so off topic. You're talking, I'm sorry, what? I apologize. Sorry?
Just wrap up the call. When it comes to the question about morality and what you're saying about child rape, I believe God punishes people in the afterlife, regardless of whether it's a male working female or female working male or whatever. So when it comes to questions like, why is God a child rapist? I believe that there is consciousness survives after death, and that people who do bad things to other people are judged accordingly. And I believe God creates a personal hell for them in real life. I believe there's a reason why people who do bad things to other people live shitty lives, but spiritually, in the sense that their consciousness is bad, and in terms of being locked in prison. Now, I agree.
Except unless they're very rich, in which case that doesn't apply. Jackie, do you have any evidence for any of those claims?
I think we're gonna I think we have to revisit this later on in a future call, because I think it's probably good to start wrapping up about now.
I don't think you have any evidence for any of those claims. I think you're just saying things, and that sucks.
Jackie, if you had evidence for any of those claims, you would be a wealthy man, because no one has been able to come up with evidence for the claims you just made. In the history of academia, no one has been able to come up with with evidence for the claims that you just made. And I think you're a smart guy, but I'd put good money on the fact that you're not the smartest guy ever. You might be, I don't know. You're young. It's hard to say. But no one has been able to come up with any evidence of what you just said. And you believe that without evidence.
And that's a dangerous thing, Jackie. Anyway, with that, we're going to go and move on to the end of the show. Thanks so much for calling in. See you later.
Thank you, Jackie. I believe in you, dude. You get better.
Bye. Seriously. That was our last call. I'm glad we got to revisit that, because you and I talked to Jackie for a minute, and it was really fucking weird. And then I got to talk to Jackie, but I didn't actually talk to him. It was just Matt screaming at him. I'm glad we actually got a chance to hash it out, because for that dude being 16 and being that mired in fucking pseudoscientific bullshit and dogmatic thinking, it makes me sad. And I hope that gets better. I do want to share this, though. I'm putting it in the chat right now. Everybody should watch this. This is my favorite Jordan Peterson clip. It's really good. It's 28 seconds long. Everybody should watch it.
Okay. I'll watch that later.
Cool.
You're rickrolling me again, aren't you?
I'm not. I'm not rickrolling you at all.
Okay. I agree, Jenna07 in chat. Forrest is a good role model for young men.
Oh,
and young non-binary people and young women. What I love about you has nothing to do with your gender presentation.
Young women should be more like this man.
That's a desirable trait in a partner for me. I don't know. I'm married to biologists.
By the by, while we were talking to Jackie about all those things, donations continue to come in for Roll for Initiative, and I want to let everybody know that we are currently at $14,191 raised for Doctors Without Borders.
Thank you so much, y'all.
As we bring less, as we help free more doctors from their borders, as we deborder more doctors here on the line and also on Roll for Initiative. With that, you want to do super chats and we can wrap up?
Let's do super chats and then never wrap up.
We'll just keep doing this show forever. This is the show that never ends. We have $50 from Terrible Liar. I just obtained a PhD degree in biostatistics. Holy fuck, good for you. With a dissertation related to phylogenetics. I wanted to celebrate giving my favorite YouTube network. That's awesome. During the writing process, I had the line nonstop playing in the background. Thank you all. Thank you for making science and the world better, and also for giving us your money. We appreciate that most of all.
Congratulations on the PhD.
Holy fuck. $5 from Skeptoidius. Sup, fellow heathens. Sup to you as well, my good sir. Been super busy. I got a full custody of my daughter after 8 years of dealing with court and my ex's BS. She chose to stay with me. Well, congratulations to you. What a long battle. Long battle for love.
Yeah, I'm sorry you guys had to go through that. I'm pulling for you. I hope you find happiness and peace going forward, buddy.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Michael Lindsay 34 sent $10 whole to say, have humans somewhat stifled their evolution by changing the world around us to fit our own needs rather than adapting to the world around us? Also, Forrest, you were a big step in my deconstruction. Well, thank you so much. That's very cool of you to say. I'm glad I could be useful. So selection pressure is always there. There will always be differential reproduction and survival. We've just changed the selection pressures. So we're no longer being eaten by lions quite as much, but we do have things like birthing processes. We have C-sections now instead of having to fit a baby the size of a watermelon out of a cervix the size of a quarter. And for those reasons, we still have evolutionary trajectories. Humans are getting bigger and bigger heads, we're getting taller and taller due to increased nutrition. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. So we haven't stifled our evolution. We've just changed the trajectory a little bit. $10 from Bo Unero. Forrest, the fact you say, oh my glob sans God is mathematical. Fucking algebraic, dude. I'm glad you get the reference. I recently changed the way I say it. What was your experience and motivation in kicking it? Jesse, I love tree. And chat, go watch Roll for Initiative. I put out a poll on my YouTube channel. It was like, will you donate? Yes, no, I want to marry the tree monster and something like that. I like the phrase better. And I wanted to excommunicate God from my languages, literally excommunicate as best I could. And it was shocking to me. It was kind of a silly idea that I started doing, and then it really shocked me at how many times I had to stop and notice that I was saying the word God. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot when you're not thinking about it. And so making that conscious decision made me more cognizant of the language that I was using, and I think it's fun. And I want to incorporate more things, more Adventure Time expletives in my, if I can get a cool, alphanumeric, you know what I mean? I want to do more things like that in my time. I just, it's hard to do.
What a great little show.
What a great little show. It's a wonderful show. It really is.
Yeah, I love it.
$5 from Ruben Manzo. Baptized in the fire. I'm going to stop you there. Baptism takes place in water. Yeah, it's a dude who told me he read the book of Acts and just became a different Christian. And it baptized in the fire of the Holy Spirit is what he said. And I don't know what that means either, but he was real excited about it. $5 from Blackwater Ted. God can make lying a sin, but not owning people as property? Yeah, dude. Yeah. Pretty gross. Pretty gross religion you got going on there. Yeah. $9.90 and then 9 more cents from Kaushik Roy. This is the scariest thing about religion. They're all indubitably righteous, always, causing potential for unchecked horrible actions that are completely justified in their minds. Yes. If somebody can make you believe absurdities, they can make you commit atrocities. Is one of the dangers of religion is what we see in the world around us. Thank you so much for the $9.90 and then 9 more cents on top of that, Kaushik Roy. $5 from Stomp10. Stomp. How do we understand the limitations of evolution? What would it take for humans to grow wings or gills? Forrest and Jesse are awesome. That all has to do with where evolution intersects with development, and like what tissues you have and where you have them, and like what can do what with what genes you have. So like, there's a reason why a Pegasus isn't a real thing, because you'd need a lot more structure that isn't there initially, and it's a long-term developmental problem that you'd be solving. I know I'm not making a lot of sense. I would recommend
we lost Forrest. Also Pegasus would have 6 limbs, and that makes them a bug. That's science. You can look that up.
That is actually true. I would recommend this book. It's called Understanding Evo Devo by Wallace Arthur, and it's a tiny little read, and it's got some really, really, really cool shit about how development actually works and why it's intersects with evolutionary trajectories in organisms. $5 to Monkey a Typewriter. Matthew's whole "it's not interpretation if you understand it the way I do" thing might be the most effective thought stopper ever. Like patent worthy. Yeah, it's frustrating. Phoenix Force 85 in the chat did not send a super chat, but she said that Jesse needs to be an audiobook reader, and I agree. I would listen to that.
I don't listen to anything she has to say.
$5 from James Rods. Matthew out here spreading the word of Rocco's Basilisk. I don't know what that means.
Rocco's Basilisk it's a thought experiment about AI. Do we want to get into it or not?
Yeah, I want to know what it is. I don't know things, and I hate not knowing what a thing is. I'm going to
misquote it a little bit, and somebody in chat can be super pedantic, but I'm going to give you the broad strokes.
I like broad strokes.
Rocco's Basilisk talks about how AI will probably advance to the point where it will enslave humanity and reward those of us that helped bring it about, because it is supremely intelligent and probably semi-evil. And those of us that stood in the way of the development of Rocco's Basilisk will be punished severely. It's okay. Like I said, it's a thought experiment, and it scares a lot of people, but I don't think we need to worry too much about it. But I'm a big dumb guy.
That's why I'm always nice to ChatGPT, and I say please and thank you whenever I ask it to do things.
I tell
just
Alexa,
in case,
you know. Yeah, you can never be too
just in case. Hey, look at this thing that I just put in the chat there. That's pretty cool. Everybody should check that out. Thank you for stroking me broadly. I appreciate it. $5 from Skeptoidius. Can we agree that chattel and indentured are both forms of slavery and are forking wrong? Yet there are people who try to make a distinction. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Go fuck yourself, those people, but in a totally different way than we say go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Yeah. It's gross.
God.
It's real gross.
You know what we should do is have a barrier of entry question at times when we just get that little stinking suspicion.
Yes.
Like, hey, slavery, yes or no?
Yes, just really quick. Yeah, we should have a little questionnaire you have to fill out, and you get sorted, ranked. Oh God. $19.99 from me and my human. This motherfucker right here donated like a couple $100 to Roll for Initiatives thing for Docs Without Borders, by the way. Thank you to this person and the birds. Thank you to the birds in your PFP. Me and my human donate to Docs Without Borders to prove not all birds are stupid. Oh, I get it. It's the bird and the bird's human. I get it. I get the bit. Okay, cool. And I'm sitting here promoting the fact that they were so charitable, and here they are talking about it. Brag. Most, probably, but not all. And here's our line support notion as well. Thanks to everyone else, at the line for all the hard work. I'm guessing what that means. It's hard for birds to type. I understand. $5 from Ruben Manzo. My aunt, who has a PhD in theology, says Genesis 1 is what happened, while Genesis 2 is how it happened. That doesn't make any sense because they're in different orders. But okay, maybe I think she's probably saying like this is the interpretation that we're using. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that as a PhD theologian, she doesn't actually believe the shit, but like it's just saying this is what the idea is. Okay. If that's how I'm supposed to read it. But like the fact of the matter is people do take it literally, and that sucks. $5 monkey typewriter. I tried making tires, but after the second one, I decided it was time to retire. Nice. Are you seeing this right here? I can't stop looking at it. And it's just this one.
I can't either, buddy.
That's just doing whatever the fuck it wants. It's driving me insane. 9 from me and my human. Sorry for the last garbled sentence. Pop-ups and fat fingers. Beak. And this is our line support donation. Thanks to everyone. You sent more money to tell us that you supported with the money. Thank you. I appreciate it. I wish I were so flush.
Your human has
Black Butter Ted. Can you recommend a good movie or song from any genre? Yeah.
Oh,
you go first.
First, you do one, I'll do one. Okay, me first. I've been listening to Rainbow Kitten Surprise's new single like on repeat lately because that's what I hear. That's a trait of neurodivergence. It's called Superstar, and I'm a big fan of Rainbow Kitten Surprise. They're kind of an avant-garde like post-prog rock group, and their lead singer recently came out as trans, and she sounds fucking awesome still. So check out Superstar by Rainbow Kitten Surprise.
I love that. I'm gonna recommend. I've recommended this song before, but I fucking love it. I just put it in the chat. It's called "Fire on the Horizon" by a band called Stick Figure, and they're just a new kind of reggae rock band. And Fire on the Horizon is probably one of my favorite songs of just ever. It's a great song. It's a good jam, and it just makes me want to chill on an island and just be a happy man and like pursue my dreams and do stuff. So yeah, it's a great song. As far as movies are concerned, fucking Barbarian, dude. Barbarian was a great movie.
That's a wild one. Who would have predicted any of that?
That's why I liked it. I love being like actually surprised. I hate when a horror movie especially is just very predictable. And that one, fucking great. I was grinning from ear to ear the whole time. $5 from Vernondale Spelllands. Question 1 of 2. Homo sapiens equals only extant homo. Is this long, barren, single branch of tree of life unique? Or have seen similar branches in other creatures? Absolutely, it is not unique. We've had long branches and other things, like stuff that I can't think of right now. Look up. Oh, what's it called? Monotypic genera. That's the word. So a genus that has only one species within it is called a monotypic genus. And so you can look up monotypic genera or even monotypic taxa, because a taxon is a bunch of a taxa is, or sorry, a taxon is a group anywhere from domain all the way down to genus. And here's a list of monotypic taxa from the Wikipedias. You got plants, you got animals on here, you got a whole bunch of them where it's just like there's this one thing that's like roped into this whole situation. Narwhals are a good example of that. They're the only one in their genus. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah. And then question 2 of 2, would love to give more nuance. Humans keep animals as pets. Do other dissimilar species keep pets? Have we come to conclusions why? Yes, they do. Great example is ants. Ants farm. There are some species of ants that do ranching. They keep aphids, and there's some species of ants that farm fungus. They go like leafcutter ants. They grow and cut leaves and then bring leaves back to feed to a giant fungus that's growing, and then they eat that fungus. And their whole job is to eat fungus, and so they have to go harvest things to bring them to feed the fungus. Yeah.
I got excited about that one because there's also a species of tarantula that keeps little cute fucking frogs as pets, and the frogs stay in their burrow, and the tarantula doesn't fucking eat them because the frogs eat potentially dangerous pests to the tarantula's babies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
cute.
They're good dudes. They're really good dudes. $10 from Panda. Hey, I don't think anyone here has heard of Roll for Initiative. Would you mind enlightening them? Really, though, seeing you here together is my cute hit, my little hit until episode 11 comes out. I love that. Yeah, we got this thing going on. You might have heard of it. It's called Roll for Initiative. It lives on YouTube. It's over on my channel. I'll drop the link down below yet again so you guys can check it out. It's pretty fucking cool. Jesse Jerdak and I played a game of Tales of the Valiant along with a bunch of our friends. And we're already talking, maybe just discussing, maybe doing a couple more seasons of that. If we're raising enough money, like maybe over like $20,000 would be pretty cool. And we want to change out the cast every time. We want to bring in new people all the time. We want to mix and match cast members from previous seasons to new seasons. We want to like do all the things to try to like, get people excited about this show and bring in more viewers and get people donating. I've already got 2 characters for the next 2 seasons. I've got the character for next season will involve these, and my character for the season after that will involve these. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to tell you anything else beyond those things for right now, but know that I'm working on them. $5, I just gave $20 to Roll for Initiative and then $5 here to tell me about it. Thank you. Could we have you gents wear wigs for a call? We did. And it was because of you and your kindness. And Jesse noticed.
We did a good job.
We did a really good job. We're good at our jobs. We're good at shows. $5 to Monkey at Typewriter. Jesse asking what the generation after Z is going to be called. Bold of you, sir, to assume there will be another generation. Maybe Subterranean Gen. Love it.
Oh, that's dark.
$10. $10. The matter-of-fact nature that you said that with is so good. $10 from Cyrille. Forrest and Jesse, most positive masculinitiest super duo. All of the masculine is coming from Jesse. I don't know. Yeah,
that's not true.
Look at me.
You
I'm
have
175 pounds of like fucking stretched out squirrel. You're a beast of a man in every regard. It's phenomenal.
It takes money or power to stretch out squirrels to become 175 pounds of you. I don't know. Let's read the rest of this one.
I'm just this all the time. You're over here all fucking gruff and ruggedly handsome. You can't do it as well. Your biceps are too big. You can't be this. You can't be weird.
I can try it.
You're too gorgeous, and you're over there with a whole fucking beard, and I'm this. I don't want to hear it from you. More masculine man that I want to be someday.
No, you're the man I wish I was when I was your age.
You're my special bear. For Kyle, just get another tattoo. Cause sunk fallacy is why I stayed miserable in a manipulative marriage. Here with you. Yeah, dude. We're all here for Kyle. Archaic Fox in the chat said noodle men are still men. $20 from Godfrey N. Good. Aloha! If Europeans at northern latitudes developed blonde hair and blue eyes, what stopped Asians and South Americans at similar latitude from developing the same? Why no... Oh, that's a good one. Epicanthic folds. That's a word I haven't heard in a long time. That's what refers to the folds in the eyelids that give the typical eye style that you see in East Asian and Native American populations. In those Europeans and South Americans, I think it has a lot to do with sexual selection at first, but beyond that, you get to a certain point where you have a fixed gene within a metagenome, within the genome of a whole population that isn't going to change. So like blonde hair and blue eyes and shit like that, those are unique mutations. So like the dark hair is like the ground state. Didn't throw up. But like the dark hair is the ground state. And then these other things are like new mutations just popped up, and then were led by mainly a lot of sexual selection after that because it was unique. But at least that's one of the hypotheses out there. I'm not entirely sure if there's anything more to it than that. Erika would know for sure. I bet you anything. And if she doesn't, then tell her I hate her.
Fuck you, Erika. Jerk.
Yeah, damn you not knowing something that you probably actually do know. $20 from Amar again. Why are you sending money? Forrest and Jesse, bring it home, preachers. And Forrest, you never showed the mug I sent you. I did. I showed it one time. It's in the kitchen right now with the rest of my mugs. It says succinct is just a word that I use, which I take as a personal slight and also a dear gift that I will treasure for the rest of my life. $22 from Chris Nelson. I donated $50 to Doctors Without Borders on your channel, Forrest, and then $22 here to tell me about it. It is so badly needed. Thank you guys for all you do. Thank you for donating.
Thank you, Chris.
And I hope more people donate. There's still time to do it because we're going to be here until the end of the super chats, and then also episode 11 comes out, and then there's 3 more episodes after that. So definitely, if you guys are watching this and you're inspired by people like Chris Nelson, then fucking donate, please. It would be really cool.
You said you're in.
I did. $20 from Godfrey N. Good. Any evidence of African DNA in the Americas prior to the arrival of Europeans? Also, have you seen Out of Darkness, a movie about Homo sapiens Neanderthals clashing in Britain? Thoughts? Seems more about anthropology. Mahalo. I have not seen that movie, and as far as African DNA in the Americans, beyond the fact that all humans have African DNA, there's nothing that I know of. I do know that we're kind of pushing back the timeline of people coming to the Americas. We're finding that happen a lot earlier than we thought they did. But it would still be the same route up through the Levant, across Eurasia, and then down through the Bering Strait into there. $10 from Raven Lockhart. Hey, Forrest, with the drama over Emaine Khalif and the claims of her having XY chromosomes triggering transphobes, would you be able to make a video about Sawyer syndrome? I want to remake Sex and Sensibility, and I guarantee it's going to be in there, but that's going to be a long time coming. It's going to be later on this year. As far as I know, that claims of her having XY allosomes was never actually backed up. It was just one group that said some stuff and never provided any evidence for it. But I will say, yeah, that would just be called Sawyer syndrome, and it's not unique, or it could be complete androgen insensitivity syndrome as well. I don't know. There's a couple of ways that can happen. The point is, it's not freaking crazy. Not a crazy thing to do. To Mr. Pater, who's talking about Jesus and God and stuff, and it's not too late to do the thing. Call back in next time I'm on, or I'll be on the Atheist Experience and Talk Heathen this next weekend on Sunday. Call in then to those things and say that shit to my face. Just I would love to talk more about Sawyer syndrome. What it gets me the most about it is that apparently for transphobes, all of the sudden, take that, Jimmy Snow. Apparently, what gender you're assigned at birth no longer matters, and apparently, what genitalia you have no longer matters. Apparently, those things are now out the door. And you have to have a fucking karyotype of every single person you speak to before you know how to address them. And I can't wait for them to do that and then meet someone with Klinefelter syndrome and take it from there.
It's like they just want to leverage cruelty at people at random to feel superior about themselves.
It's weird how it's like that, isn't it? It's almost as if they're just dicks and are just looking for reasons to be dicks. Very strange. $9.99 whole cents from J. Sin. When you were in the Galapagos Forest, did you happen upon any evidence of the mitochondrial tooth bunny? Love that you're back. And Jesse, amazing job. Glad to see you some new talent on these shows. I'm glad to have Jesse on these shows as well.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I want to bring Jesse on more things. Jesse does a good job.
I wouldn't go so far as to call me talented, but
I would.
Okay.
10 theoretical dollars from John D. Check it out. I got some of your colorful last dollars still in my wallet from BajaCon.
BajaCon.
Look at these bitches. BajaCon.
Alleged
we
dollars.
got 10 alleged. Yeah, I've got some alleged theoretical dollars right here. I don't know what the fuck to do with them now. Great conversations from two great hosts. My doctor recommended a chiropractor for a dislocated rib. One visit was done. Yeah. Skeptical to see one for long-term pain relief, though. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If it's specifically for musculoskeletal issues that like aren't demanding surgery, maybe consider it if you don't have other options or you want something that's less invasive. But talk to a doctor first. That's my whole premise on chiropractics. Talk to a doctor first. Only for musculoskeletal issues. Do not replace surgery with it unless it's possible.
Drink colloidal silver. You heard it here. Forrest Valkai.
Drink colloidal silver. $5 from R.C. Deschanel. I know biology is real because I read it in a book. Exactly. That's how it works. That's literally all we do. We just sit around and we read books to each other and we're like, you read it in a book. I read it in this book. It's true. Look at this one curl on the very front. Do you see in this? Look at it.
It's awesome. I like the movement of it. You're a cartoon character.
It can't be stopped. It can't be stopped. $9.99 from me and my human. $9.99 to take a moment to highlight Jesse Jerdak's amazing artistry, prop work, and DM work. For real, y'all.
Stop it.
If you haven't seen the way that this man plays the game, the way this man runs the game, and the things that the motherfucker builds, like, it is redonk. And again, tune in to just the first minute of the next episode. There's the theme song, and then there's last time on, and then there's just 1 minute. It'll show you this amazing set that we're doing. Jesse motherfucking Jerdak, y'all.
We did a good job.
Yeah, that's an understatement. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Jackie, not a single citation you've given has been worth anything. This is not this is a conversation, not a bibliographic recitation. Learn to listen, kid. It's hard, and I hope it sucks because I know how I was at 16, and so I want to be cognizant of like how Jackie will hear a lot of this criticism, and I don't want to drive him further away by harping on him too much, but I hope he hears the gravity of what he's actually saying and how harmful it actually is, and how many people are like it's kind of like the thing I talked about this at BajaCon. There's a lot of skeptics out there who seem to think that skepticism is just the art of disagreeing, and that the more people you hurt or offend, the more skeptical you are. And that's kind of like the fucking Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro crowd now, and it just sucks. $10 from Mike B. Truth versus metatruth, background versus substrate. If they can't explain it to a 10-year-old, how well do they understand it themselves? Deep study and inquiry of a concept at a collegiate level. Yeah, I'm sure that went on a little bit further. I don't know, but like that really is it. If you're going to discuss something in a forum like this, you need to be able to break it down and explain it in a way that everybody can understand without having to have the same background as you. I guarantee you do not want to hear me talk about biology the way that I would talk to my peers about biology. Nobody wants that shit. $5 from Aliashana Silverbow. That is a cool fucking name. I'm rereading a book about anti-gravity. I can't put it down.
Oh man, that sounds like some light reading.
Yep. Yeah, it sure does.
Sorry.
That's great. No, that's really good. $5 monkey at typewriter. Did you know goodbye comes from God go with you? God be with you or something like that. It was a way of telling people to walk with God's protection, which is why I say deuces. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil, whatever the fuck. Deuces. Yeah. Gazoon tight, Laura.
Honey, everybody can hear you sneezing. Stop it.
What you the light reading joke was really good, and it reminded me of something that I haven't had a chance to say. Why does a chicken coop have 2 doors?
Oh man, why?
Because if it had 4 doors, it'd be a chicken sedan.
Yeah, I knew. I knew it was either that or it's like something to do with the tutors. I'm like, oh man, where's he going with this? Where's he fucking going with it?
$10 from salty Seattle cyclist. Forrest, I need to hear a rant from you about why I'm justified in dropping my recent dating interest like a hot rock because I found out she's an enthusiastic Trump supporter because it will never work. Yeah, when we were so at BajaCon, there was a person there who I don't know how much she wants to publish this. So I won't say who, but like says she was dating a Republican, and she was like, "You have to understand, I can fix him," and like, she was saying she was making some traction. She kept fact checking him every time he said some stupid shit. She'd be like, "Okay, well, let's look it up and double check," and he was wrong, and he was actually changing his mind. And then at one point he actually said, like, why is it that every time you fact check me, it turns out I'm wrong? And she's like, because you should have been doing that the whole time. And if you had been, that wouldn't be happening. And so like, I think that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. And if you vote for him again, you are espousing white supremacy, is the kind of like the way that it's going at this point. That's not fair to say. What is fair to say is that Donald Trump is very clearly racist. And if you are supporting him, that means that racism is not a deal breaker for you. And if racism isn't a deal breaker for you, then you are not a good person. That's how I would phrase that. I think that's probably a good way to put it. Yeah. $5 from SJL. Are humans/chimps closer and related than African/Indian elephants? I believe so. I think so. I want to say yes. I'm going to double check. Oh, that's a lot of typos, but whatever. Yeah, I'm seeing a couple. Yeah, I believe so. This is another one that Erika and I've talked about before, and I'm 99% sure that's true. And I'm seeing a couple of things here saying it's true. So yeah, I believe so. And that's fucking neato. It's real fucking neato. I watched my video. What is a human is a surprisingly hard question to answer, and I talk about things like that a lot, and why you should think about whether or not you would feel any different if it was homo troglodytes instead of pan troglodytes. 400 rupees from Vimo Live. What do you say to people who say that atheism must necessarily mean asserting that there is no God instead of lack theism? That is a definition, and that's the difference between hard and soft atheism, as opposed to, it's the same people who try to split hairs between atheism versus agnosticism. That's simply not what the words mean, but it is the common usage, and words don't have inherent meaning. They only have usages. So if somebody said that, then I would just say, I disagree with you. That's not what the words actually mean. But if that's what we're talking about, then I would tell you that I don't believe there's a God. I'm not saying there necessarily isn't one, because that position would also require evidence. And that way we can just cut through that, like the lexicological bullshit. Lexicological, is that what I'm trying to say? Cut through the semantics and just get down to the heart of the matter. That's what I would do. $10 from Believe. We'll watch this later as one TTRPG GM to another. Super happy to see Roll for Initiative back. Donate, peeps. It's true. That's a super fan right there, because Jesse and I did the first Roll for Initiative as a silly ass live stream where we raised like $5,000 for the Human Rights Campaign. And that's where this shit came from. Not this. This is the Charles Darwin Research Station. That's where this shit came from. Was because it was just better. Get off my nipples. So yeah, dude, I'm really happy to have it back in myself, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Everybody should go donate to that.
Please.
Try it out.
Appreciate you, buddy.
$5 from Mahalialaga. Transphobia is really just phallophobes, because all they fear, they all fear surprise peens, but never worry about a surprise bagoo. Yeah, you always notice that it always is only trans women getting the heat, because it's a great way to blend in the misogyny and homophobia. You get sexism and homophobia mixed together into the diarrhea martini that is transphobia. Yeah, I hear you. It sucks.
Man, I hate that word so fucking much, though. The vagoo. That's just
vagoo.
Yeah.
It's one of the least attractive words out there. It's like, it's one of the weirdest and worst ways to refer to a vagina.
It's got a texture to it that I find unappealing.
Yeah. Like a little meat sleeve kind of situation. It's just not good. Just a bad way to say something so pretty. $10 from Aliyah Shauna Silverbow. Just for Jesse's response to my joke, here's another. A photon checks into to a hotel. The bellhop asks, "Do you need help with luggage?" Photon replies, "No, I'm traveling light." What do you call
as my Spanish-speaking friends would say, no más.
No más. No más. What do you call a skeleton that wants to hug and kiss you? An exoskeleton.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
How
nice.
about that? Ericapedia, $10. You guys are still here? Almost. We got one left. It's $5 from Chris. I wish I was in Australia right now so I could hear Forrest say ass dollars again. Ass dollars just for you. Also, I don't know if this is still a thing, but at one point there was somebody who said that they had to take a bong hit every time I said the word alleles. So alleles for you if they're still doing that.
Man, that person's gonna be late for work.
Yeah, it's been a great time. This has been a long and fruitful show. Jesse Jerdak, I seriously appreciate you spending fucking 4 hours sitting here goofing about and taking calls with me.
I like being long and fruitful with you, Forrest.
I like your long fruits, man. I hope that everybody will subscribe to Jesse Jerdak's channel. He makes cool things and he does cool things and he's just an all-around cool person. I also hope that you will go check out Roll for Initiative because we've raised apparently over $14,200 now for Doctors Without Borders, which are saving lives all around the world, and that's thanks to you and your help. Smash that like, comment, subscribe button things. Do the stuff and join our Patreon and have a great rest of your day. And that $5 for Skeptoidius. Forrest, can you explain like I'm a colleague how neutral evolution works? No. Thank you so much for tuning in to SkepTalk, everybody. I hope you had an awesome night. It's over now. This is how the show ends. We gotta sit here like fucking a-holes and watch the thing scroll on the screen. Donate, talk.